4.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
From the ethereal realm of devotion to the practicality of daily spiritual practice, across the vast landscape of Vedic wisdom and teachings, this is Vaishnava Voices. Hosted by the dynamic husband and wife duo, Sitapati Das and Dana Devi, they bring to you an intimate exploration of the vibrant world of Vaishnavism. Interweaving ancient scriptures with modern contexts, personal stories with universal lessons, they illuminate the path of love, devotion, and conscious living.
Hare Krishna, and welcome everyone to another episode of Vaishnava Voices. I'm your co-host, Sitapati Das, and beside me, as always, is the wonderful Dana Devi. Today, as with every episode, we're diving deep into the heart of Vaishnava teachings, exploring the wisdom, culture, and practices that guide us towards a life filled with devotion and service.
That's right, Sitapati. We are thrilled to have you on this journey with us. Whether you are a seasoned devotee, a spiritual seeker, or simply curious about Vaishnavism, here in Vaishnava Voices, we are all about fostering connection, understanding, and growth. And remember, we are not just exploring, we are also experiencing. So let's begin.
So sit back, prepare your hearts and minds, and tune into the sounds of the soul on Vaishnava Voices.
Welcome to today's edition of Vaishnava Voices. You know you love it. My name is Sitapati Das.
My name is Dana Devi.
And today we are joined by a very special guest all the way from Slovenia in Europe, where it is currently the evening of yesterday. It is Tat Purusha and his Dharma Patni, his religious wife, Pasmasundari Devi Dasi. Welcome, Prabhus. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Hare Krishna.
Thanks for joining. I love the decor, the sword, the crossbow. It really sets the mood.
Yeah.
So we I think we first encountered each other during the pandemic in some meetings that Prahlad Swami was holding for devotees who kind of more aligned with his perspective on what was happening at the time.
Yeah. That's where we first had some online interaction.
And then more recently, of course, in the recent kind of furor or controversy around my Namras podcast episode that came out recently, the #1 Hare Krishna podcast in the world. We kind of like started talking around that, and I thought it would be great to have the two of you to come on to the podcast to talk about this episode, to talk about this topic, grihasta ashram, license for sex. And when I ran it by my good wife, Dana Devi, she said, this was her response. She said, "Great, let's talk about real things with real people."
Yeah, that's the hot topic in ISKCON. The hot potato. Nobody wants to touch it much.
Nobody wants to say what he really thinks. And we have just the official statement.
Yeah.
What you're supposed to say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You learn what you're supposed to say, and then you repeat that.
Yeah.
Before we dive into this topic, I just want to acknowledge one thing. the register for someone's kind of expertise to speak about this or authority to speak about it really lives with their partner. You know, if you're going to have someone come on and talk about this kind of topic, if their own in their, you know, it's like, where's your customer testimonial, product endorsement? You know, it's kind of like if you're buying something online, you want to see who bought this before and what did they think of it. Of course, the company that's selling the thing is telling you that it's like great and it's awesome, but like, has anybody actually used it and come up with that? So I'm always, when I hear someone talking about these topics, I'm always like, well, where's your wife or where's your husband and what do they think about this? Like, what do they think about you? So I think it's a very powerful statement, the fact that the two of you are here together to talk about this. It makes it obvious to anyone who's watching that you're on the same page, or in areas where you're not on the same page, you know, we're going to get to see that. And the other thing about it is, if I'm watching someone talking about something, I'm always like, do I want my life to look like their life? Is that what I want for myself in my life? And if their partner's not there, I have no idea what it even looks like. So it's very powerful that both of you have come on to the podcast together. Thank you. And I acknowledge each of you and both of you together.
Mhm.
We are always together.
That's wonderful. It's beautiful to see that. Srila Prabhupada said we have to teach by example.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
think that is something that we have to adhere to, what is who we are and where we are in life, and how we are following the example of Srila Prabhupada and his teachings or his instructions. And we have to keep it real. You know, we human beings.
It's going to get real, folks. Thanks to people who are viewing at the moment. Feel free to drop comments. Namras has kicked it off. He said it's a nice topic. He's a huge fan of the podcast. Can we start off? Can you give us the background so people know who they're listening to? Maybe just a bit about
Okay.
yourselves, you know, how long you've been married, if you have children, that sort of thing. And then also the way this kind of got brought up in our conversation was, you said to me that you'd participated in a grihasta team there in Slovenia, which was motivated by the high divorce rate in ISKCON. And so you've done like a deep dive into this area. So kind of like who you are personally, so people get a sense of who you are, and then some of that background. If you wouldn't mind sharing that with us, that would be amazing.
Okay, sure. I joined ISKCON 93. I went straight to the temple because at that time there was really no congregation. So there was no option. If you wanted to be serious, you had to join the temple. So I joined the temple. I was brahmachari for a few years. Then I realized I need another kind of environment, maybe a companion and so on. So I lasted in the temple for 5 years. Then towards these 5 years, I met my wife, Pasmasundari. She's from Croatia. We got together actually partially arranged. Like, I had a friend in the temple. He knew that I was thinking to marry, and so he introduced us. And so, yeah, that's how we came together, and we stayed together since that time.
Since 98.
98, yeah. We have 3 children, homeschooled, nice kids, very nicely behaved. So we have some realizations in this field also with children, and of course in marriage, what works, what doesn't work. You want to say something about you?
Yeah. You said that that Srila Prabhupada wants us to preach by an example. Yeah. So I wanted to tell a story of my life because it's part of this topic also. So the story has the point at the end. So the first thing is that my life, started with my father. He was the first person who protected me, and he was a man who built 2 houses. And also when war started, he joined the army. And but most important thing for me was that when I reached puberty, he told me if I accidentally get pregnant, he will take care of the baby and me. I really felt protected. And also my mother, she was like a very chaste woman, no sex before marriage, and she really preached this to me on a daily basis. We would go for walks and she would talk with me every day also about this topic. So then of course, you cannot bring some useless guy to such father. So yeah, and my mother said that I should find a husband whom I can respect. This was the instruction. So also I was looking for a man who can provide for me, like who would be capable. That was my main thing. Also in Krishna consciousness, Krishna was there who took care of me. I could feel it. Like when I decided to get married, because I saw that I cannot live in the temple. It's too busy for me. I need my peace. I wrote, that I need to get married. And the next day, when I gave this letter to one Mataji to send the letter, we were writing to Guru to inform him like this. On that same day, I got the proposal. If I want to get married, there is one guy in Slovenia, so, one devotee. Yeah, this was also my pogoj. Как се рече pogoj? My one condition. Yeah, condition that he is a devotee and capable, and what else, and I can, and I will be able to respect him. So it seemed like Krishna's arrangement, for me, that this is the guy.
Timing is everything.
Yeah, and and he took care of me very nicely. Like when I gave birth. After I gave birth, he was feeding me for the whole month. Cooking, like really like a feast every day. Like he would cook the like tea from from fruits, juice from fruits, then soup, then pakoras, sabji, rice, halava, and also he would make me one special like smoothie from vegetables, and I really needed that. And then I noticed that that was also my experience with the pharmacy. Whatever they said to me, it was you had to do just the opposite.
In the hospital.
Yeah. And I could see that the body is able to heal itself. Just you have to give it a chance. So of course, through my husband, I got guru. We have the same guru, Bhaktivai Baba Swami, and also he was really protecting us all this time. He was like beacon of sanity in the in this fanaticism here. And result of all this protection, you know, was gratitude, but not only to all these male roles, all these men in my life, but also a gratitude toward Krishna, you know, who is the ultimate authority. And I think this is important, you know, to have a good experience from
Devotees.
from the people whose role is to protect you, you know. And if we see on the other side, you know, these children who were molested in ISKCON, the result, of course, is that they don't have the faith in Krishna, you know, and of course they have all other problems. Yeah, this is what I wanted to say.
Yeah, protection is very
Marvelous.
important.
Yeah.
I mean, if you analyze ISKCON, I mean, not even men are properly protected. What to speak of women and children? Also, men get abused in many ways.
And
you
bullied.
know,
Yeah.
bullied, abused psychologically, or you know.
And it's all done in the name of Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
You know.
So we are fighting here against such
Bullying.
attitude. That's why we have a sangha, home sangha, with the biggest crowd in Slovenia. It's very nice atmosphere. One thing which lacks in the temples, I noticed, is sharing, opening the mind. You know, that's one of the 6 exchanges. Very important. We have to have some platform where minds can be exchanged, where devotees can speak freely out of their heart, speak about their realizations. In the temple, usually, you know, it's Vyasa-san, kata, and, you know, one person speaking, everybody is listening, and usually you have to be quite, you know, you have to speak certain, you know, you cannot speak really freely. That's my impression. You have to stick to certain rules and topics, but devotees, they also need some platform, which I see on these podcasts is very nice, because different devotees, they can speak from their heart and speak their realizations, which is very nice. I like this.
Also, we communicate because we want to understand each other.
Yeah. Because we can learn so much from each other, speaking about certain topics. I say it's like a computer CPU with more, you know, they have more, how do you say, yadro? You have CPUs with 16, how do you call this? Or
Cores.
8 cores. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
cores. You know, a computer with more cores, it's more powerful. So if we have a nice association with many devotees, and we share and we learn from each other, it's like CPU with more cores. That's how I see it.
It's a great analogy.
And also, you know, when you talk, then you somehow adjust to each other, and I don't know.
And then all the values,
the
values get matched more. And
Yeah.
society without matched values is not really a society.
It's not a community. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
So much in there.
108%. Yeah. You go ahead.
You want me to speak?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'll speak first. I take permission of my wife.
The magic wand. Yes.
One thing, and I mean, there's so much in what you said that's so great, and so many worlds in there to unpack. Just one thing that you said about the protection of men. That's, you know, you'll read in the books about the protection of women, but the protection of men, it's like you don't see that in there. And you described, Mother Padmasundari, very nicely your trajectory and the protection of men, and you know, it really fits with Bhagavad-gita 16:7 in the Bhaktivedanta Purport, where Srila Prabhupada says, according to the Manu Samhita, a woman should be protected by her father, then by her brother or her husband, and then by her sons. And in that way, she should be protected throughout her whole life. The idea of like that men should be protected is not maybe so obvious or easy to pinpoint. And then you also pointed Tat Purusha Prabhu to men being bullied psychologically. I'm going to throw this out there. A lot of the ideas and the things that I say are like so far out there that it's difficult for people to make the connection. So I'm going to try to connect this. With the molesting of the children in ISKCON, one of the points that I've been making is that were this to happen in my kingdom, I would punish the person who molested the child, and I would punish the father of the child. Because I would bring that man before me and I would say, it is your duty to protect your children, and you have failed to do that. And in that way, what's being created there for everyone is you have the duty to protect your children. And this is for everyone, for every man. And that means that you have the right to do it. Because if you have the duty, Bhagavad-gita says you have the right to perform your duty, but you're not entitled to the results. That means that as a man, if my child is in the execution of my duty to protect my child, I can, including counterattack in battle, people who are my superiors, like sannyasis, gurus, anything, in the course of executing my duty. And I say that the disempowering of the men in this duty means that they don't feel like they have any power or any right to do anything there. And so those two things have been taken away from them. So to me, what protection of the men looks like is making it very clear to them what their duty is, and then establishing for them that you have the duty to do this means you have the right to perform the duty, and it is better to meet with destruction in the performance of your own duty than to imperfectly perform the duty of another. When you create men like that, you have a society of savage men who will destroy and meet with destruction in the performance of their own duty and not otherwise. And then it becomes, this will happen from time to time, and I'll just turn the camera back on. Don't worry, we didn't disappear. In that way, you have this balanced society. It's supposed to come back on. Hang on. A balance. I'll get the camera back on. But you have a balanced society where the men are clear on what their duty is and that they have the right to perform it. But that causes a lot of controversy when I say that, about men should be punished for not doing the thing.
Yeah. And the thing that I see from when you are touching the point of like psychologically men being bullied, one of the things as a woman, this is my perspective from my viewpoint as a female, it's how do you protect the man? In a psychological point of view, I see men also are human beings. Where they have emotions, they have feelings. And one of the things that is very clear is not only in the textbooks, it's also in psychology books. Men are less able to express themselves because what they had been taught from early age is you should not be crying. You have to be a man. And if you're not a man, you cry and you express your feelings. So what happens is their feelings and their emotions are bottled up. They have no safe place to go and express themselves how they're feeling, because if they express themselves how they're feeling, they get demonized, they get criticized. And because men by nature are more aggressive, men by nature, they go into this force, physical force, or their words are a bit more like a thunderbolt. people take it in a complete wrong way. And they have this expectation, and that's the most horrible thing. They have this expectation of, you should be doing this, you should be behaving like this, and you should be talking like this. So I see two worlds that are very incongruent here. One, you silence them, that you don't train them to express themselves, and then when they do, out of frustration at some point in their lives, you criticize them. So they are in this position of like, I don't know what's my place. Therefore, they recourse into this world of like, probably not all males, but some males into this world of violence, not only verbally, they can also go physically, because this is the result of frustration. What are we doing to our males? As a mother, what are we doing to our sons?
Yeah, they should be empowered, not put down. Yeah. Well, one thing which comes to my mind, how we can protect even men, is to have a good community which doesn't tolerate any bullying, any adharmic activities. You know, if you have people who have the same values around this situation, then others will protect. You know, if somebody tries to bully one of us, then others will jump in, you know, and stop. The same way with children. If we are alert, you know, what's going on, if everything is okay with children, everybody is nice to children, then if somebody oversteps, trying to abuse psychologically or God forbid something else, then the community should jump in, should, you know, like in a village, just common sense, you know, to raise children, the whole village should be there. It's not enough only to be father and mother. The best is if the whole village has the same values and they correct the children, you know, together. That's most effective, I think.
I
The
also
question
have,
there, sorry, go ahead, Mother.
I also have few points. One is like men are more powerful sex, you know, but this power should be controlled with dharma, with dharmic principles, you know, and then it's not the problem. Then this power protects everyone, you know, it's not abusive. And the other side, like how we can protect men, I think it's very important for men to associate with men, you know. Boys, they learn to become a man from a man. A woman cannot teach a boy to become a man, you know. You have to, we had like in former Yugoslavia, we had this army, and men were coming out of this army really
boys went in.
responsible and and neat, and you know, they had nice qualities.
You need some tapasya for a boy to become a man. That's the process. Even the native people, then they knew this, Indians or whoever you go and observe their ways. There's some tapasya involved, and then
they grow up
through this a little pain, you know, a little struggle. Then they become manly.
Yeah.
And alpha males should not be a problem for ISKCON. We need them, but they should be trained with dharmic principles. So they should have their mind and senses under control. Then it's no problem. But I think ISKCON is kind of looking away from Varna Ashrama. The whole principle, you know, to have kshatriyas there, it's in Varna Ashrama system. But somehow nobody wants to go into this topic and start arranging ISKCON in a certain way. When I was speaking to my guru, Maharaj, about this topic of protection, he said, yeah, you're right. We don't have kshatriyas because Brahmanas, they think differently when they approach the problem of child protection. They don't think the same, they don't act the same as Kshatriyas do. Kshatriyas take matter in their hands and they correct stuff, Well, we just, quote this verse and that verse and protect the abusers at the end. And it doesn't work.
No action.
There's no action, there's no protection at the end. So I think ISKCON will have to face the progress into Varna Ashrama, which means that devotees are engaged according to their nature. Not just some ideas that everybody should be Brahmana. No, people have different natures and they should be encouraged to work according to their nature, together with dharmic principles. That's my idea.
Also, if you look from the point of view of levels of consciousness,
Annamaya, Pranamaya. Yeah.
When you do things as you like, that's the first level, And now it's, I'm the boss and I can do whatever I want. We had a few situations in Slovenia. One situation was that we don't have any rule books. The statute is not good. And the leaders till this day didn't do much about this. We still don't have any rule books, nothing, And people just, as they like. They do as they like. And then... when the GBC doesn't work, then you go to higher. So I wrote to RGB, Regional GBC, Europe. And he said, yeah, okay, we see your point, but we also don't have the rule books. We also don't know what we can do, what is in our power to do. And who is our authority? Do we have authority? And I was thinking, what's the point of approaching them? It's just on the paper. Everything is on the paper, Just some people have positions and things like that. But
no
actually,
power.
no action. No action.
Power.
You can see to the top, no action.
Nobody is responsible.
Yeah, no responsibility.
If mistakes are made, nobody is responsible.
This
Nobody
is the
loses
joke.
the position. It's if this was a company, a corporation, business company, ISKCON, we would fail miserably. Our organization
is a joke.
Is a joke.
Total joke.
Yeah, that's what we are.
That's what we found out.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a good starting point. I mean, everybody has to get to that point at some point, and realize that, if this is going to happen, it's up to me. Like, we got to take the power back. And it's kind of like people are always looking for who's going to implement Varnashram Dharma. But my realization of it is it starts with you. Like, if you don't have a Varna and you are not acting according to your Dharma, then there's no question of like someone else is going to do it. Like, if you're not doing it, then who else is there?
Exactly.
It's like, if you take the second initiation, you become one of the twice born, the Dvija. The Dvija are of three divisions. There are the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, and the Vaishyas. Why are you wearing a thread? I had this conversation with a devotee the other day, and he said, well, it's because the Vaishnavas are beyond, the Varnashram. And I'm like, well, why are you wearing a thread then? Why are you wearing the symbol of the twice born? Because I asked him, what is your Varna? Are you a Brahmana, a Kshatriya, or a Vaishya? And he said, oh, my guru didn't tell me. And I asked him for Praman, and he sent me a book by, who is the book by? I can't remember, but no, Bhakti Vikas Swami, I believe. And in the book, it has a line, and then it has a footnote, and the footnote points to the Chaitanya Bhagavat Adi Leela commentary by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So I got the book and read the purport by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And then I went back to that devotee and I said, so it seems to me that you have accepted the thread of the twice born in the line of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada as part of their mission to establish Varnashram Dharma for the benefit of humanity. So what is your Varna? Because I'm a Kshatriya. And if you Google in the Veda-based Kshatriya duty, the very first hit that comes up is that the duty of the government, of the Kshatriya, is very difficult, but they have to make sure that everyone is following their duty. If he says he is a Brahmin, he has to be a Brahmin. Guna and karma, he has to act as that. If he's wearing a thread as a Kshatriya, I can't just be like, oh yeah, whatever. No, it's like, why are you wearing this thread? What is your Varna? If you don't say that you're any of the other Varnas, then I assume that you are a Brahmana, because the evidence you have given me is that you are wearing the thread because you are following Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and they declared themselves as Brahmanas, and sannyasis even adopted the garb of the particular ashram and a varna in order to establish Varnashram Dharma, to create the organization for human society. So it really begins from there, like, who's the authority? It's like, if you're a Brahmana, you have the thread, and you are a grihasta, then you are a spiritual master of society, and your house is an ashram. And you're like, the Badarik ashram, or the ashram of Kashyapa Muni, or the ashram of Kardama Muni. It's an ashram. You're the Brahmana. You're the spiritual master of society. Perform your duty. And then the Kshatriya, if that's what your Varna is, if you don't have the, like, I'm not famous for being humble. And I'm proud of that. And that makes me a Kshatriya, at the very least, Ishvara Bhav, Tejas, those are the qualities by which the Kshatriyas work and which they're known for. I'm not known for being humble. I'm known for being the guy who's like on the front lines chanting. And so I'm like, you know what? I think I have the qualification to be a Kshatriya. And so I adopt that as my Dharma. That's my Varna. I'm a Kshatriya. What does that mean? That means that when women and children are being threatened, when Dharma is being threatened by the government, I must respond. I have no choice in the matter. It is my duty to go down to the parliament and to chant for 23 days, bring down the government, front up there and say, I'm here to bring down the government, go on the list, all that kind of stuff, That's my duty, and I have no fear in performing that. Well, actually, I do, I'm also a human being, and I'm like, dude, this is a pretty hairy situation to be in, but you know what? It's my duty in this life.
It's because it's in your nature. You cannot act otherwise. It's your call. It's your call. You will respond in a certain way according to your nature, and ISKCON doesn't facilitate people with Kshatriya nature, or Kshatriyas are also good managers. They can manage stuff. Really good.
But they like order.
Yeah, they like to put things in order. They don't like adharmic stuff, abuses, or somebody's lazy and just having a title, but he's not doing anything. Just occupying a space there. He will put things in order. So. But somehow ISKCON is not facilitating this kind of people. I mean, we had a few, let's say, revolutions in Slovenian Yatra in regard to the temple management and leadership and so on. And we were always there in the opposition when things went south, We wanted to correct things. And a few years ago, we were again there. And now we are more
trying to keep away.
Yeah, at the moment, because sometimes you can't change anything. People are just they are there for life. Like some people can steal the temple or community. They just put themselves in charge, and nobody can touch them or come close to them or even work with them. It's impossible. They hijack the community actually, or a temple or whatever there is. We've seen this in other countries also, and
what's the point?
Anyway, I don't know where I'm going, but I want to express this.
Yeah, I get it. I hear carving out your own kingdom. For a Kshatriya, it's like you can't not do that. it's just people will gravitate towards you. You're a natural leader, and if you're in someone else's kingdom, then that can be threatening to them.
Yeah.
So it's like, the other thing about being a Kshatriya is that you're not here waiting for someone to give it to you. It's like you're going to take it. And that's Bhagavad-gita. They're on the battlefield, and it's like, oh, okay, well, we're gonna take this then. And then they come into direct conflict. And you can, the world's a big place. You can carve out your kingdom. There's no need to fight over scraps and some tiny little side thing. The forest is very big, and there's a lot of unconquered territory out there.
When Mata, you were pointing out about the protection of how you felt when your father said, whatever happens, if you accidentally get pregnant, I will take care of you. That reassurance and the input of your mother, who also is a chaste woman, make you be that woman who you are, chaste, and you know your values as a woman. I'm not mingling around. I'm not having dates before marriage. And you are single-pointed because your values are untouchable, and no one can destroy that, because yourself created that value for yourself and your future and the future of your children, the future of your relationship with your husband, the future of your relationship with your husband in the world. When you expose the woman, you expose the man, that is very powerful. What we see in these days, we're seeing these ladies just mingling freely with married men, with single men, with the so-called, I'm free to do whatever I want. And where does that kind of behavior, where does it lead?
It leads to more Varna Shankaras. That's where it leads. Degradation of society.
I'd like to pivot on this point to, we've been talking about Varna. I'd like to pivot the conversation to talking about ashram on this point here, that, when you said that your father said that, oh, if you accidentally get pregnant, I'll take care of you. I was like, wow, because, you say something like that, if that was the only input that you were getting, what that communicates is there are no consequences for your actions, which would really be like, hey, you can basically do anything and you don't have to worry about dealing with it. But it's balanced by, at the same time, every single day, your mother is preaching to you about being chaste and no premarital sex. So both of those together, they're actually contradictory. But it's the presence of both of those contradictions there together that creates something that wouldn't be, if you had only one or the other, would be incomplete. And so I want to pivot into talking about ashram and examining some of the contradictory aspects and tensions that are in there. You look like you have something to say there.
Yeah, the point was not that my father wanted to protect me as much as he wanted to protect the baby in me, no chance of having an abortion, This was the point,
The message.
Yeah. Also.
So he was again dharmic, acting as a dharmic person.
Yeah.
Powerful.
That's sorry, do you want to speak, maybe? No?
I have a question I want to ask them, but let you say.
Okay. So one of the things about your background, mother, how your parents raised you together, and there is a lot of similarities in my culture, and that comes to the whole community raising a child. This is the experience that I have as a child. My grandmother was one of the symbols for me. She is a symbol for me. Where her teachings was never allow yourself being touched by any man. Never. You are a young child, because I was young at that time. You growing up, you're going to be exposed to this world. You don't know what kind of man anything like that happens, you come to me and you speak to me about it, because no one can touch you without your will.
Mm.
Now, there are many risks in here. A young girl, going to school, in my community or in the place where I live, you have to walk to go to the school, and there's a trajectory where you go, and you never know who you're meeting on the way, and you never know who's watching you when you walk into school. And having a father that is protecting you and having a community that is protecting you, you are under the watch of all of those women in the community. Because as women, we have the role to protect our little ones, not to be touched against their will, not to be abused physically and also psychologically. Yes, the community has a big work to do, especially in the ISKCON society, because my question is, how come under this structure, which is called school, where you have teachers that are meant to be protecting the children, under their watch, they have been raped in such a way the children are damaged to life. Many of them, as I hear in the thread of these Facebook groups, they committed suicide. They hate Krishna consciousness. They don't want to hear, they don't want to even see it, the name of Krishna. Because the community has failed in their role to play and their values they actually are living their lives with.
So I wanted to pivot to this. This is a deep, discussion and area to look at. But I wanted to pivot away to what you told me that you'd done previously with the grihasta team there in Slovenia, and how that came about, and then what you discovered out of that. If that's okay to move to that area. You guys okay to move to that?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So there was a lot of divorces, unhappy marriages, and not well matched couples, So one day we discussed about this with Bir Krishna Maharaj, and we expressed that, okay, we can try to help. We were quite happy and balanced and everything. So we thought, why not? Let's prepare some seminars on these topics. Then we started gathering knowledge, some good examples, some psychology behind it, and we started to dig into this field, and we started to help devotees, talk to devotees, especially those younger ones who are thinking to get a spouse and so on. So we made a questionnaires, which there's a nice questions which make you think what actually means marriage. Questions like how many children you want, what kind of school you want to give them, all kind of details.
Where you want to live,
about who will do this kind of chores, who will take care of finances, both or one, or all kind of small things which actually you come across when you get married. But when you are young, you have no idea what is coming to you. So then we had discussions with younger ones and so on, and we even had one seminar in the temple for brahmacharis, and it went so well. They were very happy with the seminar, encouraged, with not in a sense, we want to get married, but to know what actually means one ashram and the other ashram, and brahmachari ashram doesn't necessarily mean you will stay there forever. Maybe you're here for a few years in this ashram, and then you will change because you're
growing up.
You are growing up, and you will want to marry. So then you will know ahead what it means to marry. You will not marry out of wrong reasons, and you'll be more prepared what to expect, what kind of duties are ahead if you go into this ashram, grihasta ashram. So yeah, this kind of stuff we did together with another couple, and we are like two core CPU. We discuss a lot. We share a lot our observations. We study together, discuss, grow together, and we gather quite some knowledge about this, which is practical knowledge, and it works. You can see in your real life that this knowledge actually, when applied, it works. Yeah, you want to say something?
Now we have like a follow-up, like people can come to ask us if they have any problems. We got to
Challenges,
know each
yeah.
other, all these young devotees, and somehow the divorce is stopped in a way.
It's getting better with the younger couples now.
Yeah.
It's getting better.
So
You-
powerful.
yeah.
Then anyway, we can connect this to the main topic, which is sex life. It's a hot potato topic in ISKCON. At one point, we realized that many couples, they break up because of incompatibility about sex life. It is what it is. So, for example, one wants to have sex and the other one doesn't. It's a problem. You have to solve it somehow. And then we realized that people are not matched according to their natures. For example, in astrology, you have these 3 levels, like human, like godly, or ungodly. How do you call it?
Rakshasa.
Manusha.
Yeah. Manusha,
Deva
Rakshasa,
and
and
Rakshasa.
Devas.
Yeah. So
Raksha.
Raksha.
Yeah.
Rakshas. Sorry.
Raksha.
So
Rakshasas.
people should be in same category. It's the best, which means approximately same mix of gunas, 3 gunas. If somebody is more passionate, there's a different energy, and they should be matched. If they have more material desires, they should be matched. The girl should also have, one should not be okay. Men can be higher, but it's best if they're quite similar. Then they can go through life with same kind of energy and transcend gradually these modes. But if you have, like a woman is like a nun and male is more like a kshatriya, this will not work, probably. That's the observation from life. I'm not speaking theory. I'm observing this in practical life, and it doesn't work. So they have to match. So then we approached many Prabhupada disciples, sannyasis, brahmacharis, grihasta couples, grihasta teams
Vanaprasthas.
from other places, or vanaprasthas, and we openly discussed about sex life, how to understand this, how to gradually overcome, and we came to a nice realization, which is that Prabhupada, in writing in his books, he gives the highest standard, but which is only for begetting children. But if you know the stories, how he dealt in real life with devotees, he also gave another standard, which is the minimum. So you have the top and the minimum. The top is the ideal, but there's a minimum standard which you don't go below, and it means only in married life, in marriage. I'm not speaking about only for procreation, but inside marriage. So their people are different. They have different mixture of rajaguna, and you cannot expect from a young person who's full of rajas to follow immediately the highest standard. So Prabhupada said oftentimes, like they were complaining, yeah, but in Mayapur, they have these grihastas, they have sex more than once per month, and he was quiet, and they were complaining again. And at one point he said, that's why I told them to get married, There are certain instructions also which he gave in person, so you can understand that he allowed for younger people or people with more rajas to accommodate this inside marriage, even if it's not the top standard. And gradually, if you follow this, you will come out of this, because bhakti yoga, if you practice, it's much stronger than any material desire. If you stay on the path, you will overcome this. Krishna arranged this body so nicely, it will age. And with time, when it ages, the senses, they lose the energy. They lose the ability, the power, And if you stay on this path, you will get also realizations. And we can say one thing, sex to get purified, you have to go through grihasta ashram, which means full package. It's like eating. Before you get to the plate of prasadam, you have to do so many things. And also after. For example, you have to earn money, Lakshmi. You have to go out and buy groceries. You have to cook something nice. You have to offer it. And then you have 15 minutes of enjoyment. And then after, you have to clean everything. You have to wash the pots. It's a lot of work.
And go to the toilet.
Yeah, also. That's the final one. So it's a whole package. Yeah,
All right.
it's a whole package. So
Yes.
also about sex life. Prabhupada actually meant illicit sex. Okay, you can read in books. Sometimes he says only for kids, anything else is illicit. But he often spoke other kind of words also. He said, for example, sex between husband and wife is never illicit. It's not sinful. It will not help them in one sense, spiritually. You get the knot in the heart tightens, but that's why you have Varna, the third ashram, to untie this knot. It's a process. So what I was saying before, I wanted to come to something.
Yeah, I know. I forgot.
Anyway, it's a process and it's a whole package. So you have to accept okay, let's say like this. Sex life is allowed only in one ashram, which is grihasta ashram. There's no sex in brahmachari. It's forbidden. In vanaprastha, you are getting out of this. And in sannyas, there's also no sex life. It's forbidden. So let's say 3 ashrams are not for sex. So license for sex is only in one ashram. Now, according to one's guna and karma, he will start with the minimum or somewhere where he is towards the top ideal, which is only for procreation. But devotees have to have this freedom to be where they are, because grihasta ashram can nicely regulate these desires. Like you cannot just eat all the time, just eat, just enjoy. You cannot. The grihasta ashram is a full package. You have so many duties. Then the children come. There's no speaking about unlimited sex or whatever, you know, like a free sex. We are not speaking about this. Then if you become too attached to sex, then it falls in another category, which is grihamedi. But when practitioner is focused mainly on Krishna, and even if occasionally they have sex, the couple, they're still focused on Krishna. It's not such a big problem as often described among devotees or preached to devotees. Some even commit suicide because they felt so much, shame or this guilt trip because they couldn't follow, But if they would be preached, okay, like Prabhupada said, okay, you are attached, then accept one Mataji and take care of her. Accept all the duties around the grihasta ashram and you'll get purified in time. So, yeah.
Also, sex is, it's a partnership, it's a relationship. And you have to communicate this with your partner, you know.
Yeah.
It's not that one just hangs in the air with this. What we noticed about these divorces is that now I forgot what did I want to say. You know, they no, I can't. It will come later. Or-
Yeah, about the divorces and sex and the gunas,
Yes, I wanted to
matching
say this.
gunas.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I just remember. You know, the glue. There was not enough glue in
Yeah.
the you know, like the knot tightens, but we had
Yeah,
no
exactly.
knot. You know,
Yeah. They were
in
cutting all the knots of the family
Yeah.
life, you know.
and also
Mm.
in the West, people are not on the emotional platform. They are more sensual, and this is the only possible for most people, the only possible way to connect, you know, to exchange some emotions.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
It all depends on the people's condition, you know,
yeah,
conditioning. Some people from India, you know, if they were grow up in more Brahminical families and culture in general,
and
they have less
big
passion. Maybe
families,
they are
yeah.
more sattvic already when they come together. They are not overcome with passion so much. But what are our samskaras here in the West? You know, I came to Krishna consciousness at 22. My samskaras were all the bad ones. You can imagine, you know. How can I overcome this in few years, or when in touch with the woman? You know, and there's one more thing I wanted to say. There's actually no transfer from elderly devotees to younger ones. You know, now it's getting better a little bit with these grihasta teams trying to reach the younger ones, trying to give them some knowledge realizations. But in my time, when I was in the temple,
And support.
yeah, grihastas are in Maya. This is all Maya, black and white preaching, no support, no understanding what we are dealing with. Then there was some attempt of some transfer. I will not use the names. One guru, at that time he was guru.
Oh.
He came to the temple and he said, anybody interested in grihasta ashram, come to guru room and I will say something, you know, I will preach to you, I will give you some knowledge, you know. And I mean, this is really crazy, sorry, but he was teaching us how to have sex
For children.
yeah, for begetting children. It actually later on I found out this is a Orthodox Jewish thing. You take a sheet, you know, sheet from the bed. Yeah, you cover your wife with one hole, a certain area, and you take olive oil for the man, you know, to lubricate your thing and area. Yeah, okay, and you do it quickly, and that's it. I mean, today when I think about this, this was the only transfer coming down from Prabhupada's disciple to us. I mean, come on,
That's
are we
insane.
trying to bring some, I don't know, Nazi children, some crazy children into this
Exactly.
community, or we want a
That's crazy.
normal? Yeah,
That's
what happened.
yeah, that teaching is not only disrespectful to women to see as a person, also goes against the scriptures, because in the scripture says when you need to beget a children, the woman and man should prepare and be in a similar consciousness and call upon the children that you want to bring to this world.
Yeah.
What are you going to bring to the world when you cover your wife with a sheet and a little hole for you to insert yourself? And then are you trying to bring a living entity without consciousness, a rakshasa, and like a ghostly little being?
Casper the Ghost.
This is insane. And
it's
that
crazy.
is the thing. And that is the thing. I don't think, this is my opinion, many people may get hurt here. I don't think the swamis or the sannyasis have the capacity to teach grihasta life.
This was not a
I
sannyasi.
don't.
He was a grihasta.
Okay, even
A very
worse.
bad
Well, it's
example.
not a very good one.
No,
He's not very
Yeah.
expert.
no expert.
Oh,
at
his
all.
Read the
personal life.
Karma-muni Leela.
His personal life was also a disaster as grihasta.
No wonder why.
He's
Yeah,
a bad
this,
example.
this is also one point, we heard a lot of preaching that grihasta ashram is that you get pride, that you realize how your children and wife are, all these
Like a stool,
the shekels and foxes,
Yeah.
the forest
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Drinking your blood. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard from the mouth of sannyasis, they read the scriptures over and over. I don't know why they like to talk about sex. Honestly, I just don't know. And they talk about what they thought about this.
The Yamunacharya
yeah.
the thought of having sex with
A woman this and woman that. And then there was another one that I saw, I hear him saying, oh, you know what? A woman is just like the body. What I do? What do you want to do? A piece of fat? Is that what you want to touch? The body. It's just a criticism about the body of a woman. And then my thought came, it's like, I don't know if you came from a woman, but I think you came from an animal and from the ass. Because if you're talking like that about a woman, you came from a woman, and you have the life that you have, the pain that your mother endured to have you in this world, and you are diminishing her in that way. It's not proper.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing I'd like to distinguish in what you're saying, I hear it, and I think this is a common misconception among devotees. I heard that you were mixing two things together. You were mixing having sex to have children, and having sex once a month as the same thing. You can have sex twice a day to have children. It's kind of like, having sex only to have children. I notice that devotees think about that a lot, and then they read the thing and it says, yes, once 5 days after her menstrual period, you have sex once a month, and that's all you ever do. That's one thing, and we could call that the higher standard. And then there's having sex to have children. Having sex to have children that's like the actual thing, because the urge from within you as a man is an urge to procreate, and it becomes weird when that urge is just like, I just want to experience some kind of sensations. That's when it starts to get weird. But when it's like, the natural push and the urge is to expand, to procreate, to have children. And so those two things go together, having sex, having children. And then when they're together, you got the whole package. You have sex, you go full Karma-muni. It's like, the castle, the full expression of the whole thing. Sure, why not? Go nuts, have fun. And then you have children, and then, there's the whole experience of childbirth, and then everything that's involved in that. And then you just are like, I'm never going to do this again, But that goes away after a while as well. You forget about that, it comes back again. And then you do your job and you replace your body. There's two of you. You got given two bodies, and you have a duty to replace those two bodies at the very least. Maybe throw in another one or two, for extras. But as a grihasta, you have a duty to replace your body. We've been given these bodies, and we need to do our job to replace the other ones. And it's very expensive and takes a lot of time and attention. And there's a lot of joy and happiness and sadness and despair and anxiety and anguish along the way. And as you say, that's the full package of everything. And all of that together is sex. Separating it out into these little things, chopping it up into little pieces and then focusing on the little pieces of it. I mean, sure, you can do that to examine and understand each of the parts of the thing. There's, when Karma-muni goes with Devahuti, Karma-muni has always been my guru and my inspiration. And I look at the Bhagavad-gita and I'm like, okay, this is a grihasta. He has a wife. She's a saint in public. And then, when they go into the castle, there's the full expression of her femininity there. You said that, some of these men, they marry these women and she's a nun. Listen, no woman is a nun. it is not the nature of a woman to be a nun. It's the fact that the guy is not able to actually activate that woman, but she ain't a nun, because you put that same woman with another man and she'll go full, Devahuti in the castle. That's my realization of that.
If I can add something,
Yeah.
I mean, I have seen some Matajis become like this also out of preaching, out of wrong preaching, or they are just
Because-
mentally blocked so much that they physically cannot have intercourse. They wanted to have children, and they couldn't. They couldn't physically do it because of her blockage and everything. And then they went to the doctors, and they got children with artificial insemination and so on. Yeah, and not all men are expert to to heal her in that way, so she's relaxed and everything, and not blocked and like
Tense.
tense and so on. Not everybody is so expert.
Can I say something about that?
Yeah.
Here's my assessment of what's happening there. I'm just going to throw this out there. That's a woman who in her mind is married to an alpha male who's the guru or whoever's doing the preaching. And the issue she's having is that she is experiencing that she's cheating on that man with her husband, because her husband has not replaced her, that man, as the dominant male authority in her life. That's what's going on there. This is a real problem.
I
in
have
ISKCON,
another
is that
theory.
Oh, yeah, please.
Yeah, sometimes it's that woman is actually a child. It's not grown yet as a woman. She needs to grow up.
Mentally.
Yeah. And
There's
she
a-
feels like this
yeah.
is abuse.
Plus you add the wrong preaching on top of it, then you get such situations.
There's many layers to when it comes. This is from female to to female. When you said that a woman is still a child, you're spot on. That is correct. Why and my own realization, observation is why that woman at that big age, let's say 30 or 25, they are still a child, because they are not touched with their own selves, of their own body, being very aware of their own body. This is my body. I'm a female. The urges come and it's fine. It's natural. This is being a female. This is being a feminine nature, where you have the breast, you have your reproductive organ, and you have your body, and that is just perfect the way it is. Perfect. We need to accept ourselves that every part of your body has the beauty to attract anyone, the opposite sex, has the beauty to reproduce this another living being. We have to be very touched with ourselves, who we are as a woman. One thing that just popped in my mind, it was a discussion with a lady who I met again she was on the Prophets. She says to me, this is from non-devotee. This is from a non-devotee world. She says to me, you know what? Women are not connected with themselves. They don't know what is actually being feminine. They have a lot of struggle. And you know what? We're talking about in every spheres of life. Being devotee, non-devotee, we are females. And how, I guess we have to do another podcast about all of this, about femininity, and then what it means to be present to yourself and present to your husband. Because the mind, like you said, Prabhu, is blocked. Yes, it gets blocked. At some point, I was blocked.
at some point I was embarrassed of my body. It's like, oh my gosh, you know, what is this? And being in that world of like the masculine and feminine is like, whoa, this is just absolutely weird. But it was perfect where I was, because that's when I started questioning myself. What about this? You know, the world of sex, intimacy, what does it mean, all of that? And there's a lot of discoveries in my life for sure. But being attached with yourself, being in connection with yourself is very important for every female.
Can I just add one thing?
Sure.
From what you were saying there, Mother Padmasundari, I think another case that's also there is there are a lot of women in ISKCON in the world who have been sexually violated or abused at a young age, and have therefore developed like a sense of disgust towards their own body, their own sexual desires. Now, especially for a woman, if she has that kind of experience, it's I'll be completely honest with you here and authentic. When I was a young boy, I walked to school with my younger brother, would walk him to school. And to get to school, we had to go past this mental hospital. And at that time, the government had done this new thing where they were letting the mental patients out of this mental hospital into the community. And they had like sexual offenders in that mental hospital. So there was one guy there who, you know, he was out and about. And then there's all these young school children, like young, very young. My brother would have been 5, I'd probably be 7. Anyway, this guy bailed me up behind the movie theater in the car park, and he was touching my genitals. Now, I went home and told my mother. I got away because I was like, this is dangerous for my brother. And so I got my brother and we got away. And I told my mother, and she called the police, and the police came, and she said, tell them what happened. And I didn't want to tell them what happened because I was super embarrassed about it. But the conflicting thing about it is that the experience of him touching my genitals was physically pleasurable. And at the same time, I was like, there's something wrong with this. So those two things together combined, they create this weird contradictory experience within the mind. And so if you have women who are coming, so people who've been through that experience and are unable to kind of like sort through that, they can be attracted to a philosophy that preaches that sex is bad because it resonates with that part of their psychology. Then they join this movement, and then they get into some grihasta relationship, and they're actually have this unprocessed experience. You know, they've been sexually abused or something's happened to them at a young age, and now they're like deeply conflicted about that. And there are actually a lot of women and even men who have like unprocessed, unintegrated trauma in this area. And then they find a philosophy that resonates with that, and they layer that on top of it. And if you're interacting only with the philosophy and not with what's going on there with the person themselves, then, you know, you never actually touch it. Yeah.
That's what Prabhupada was trying to say with the famous controversial statement, that actually it's observation, that even if the mind doesn't go together with the activity which is going on, the body can feel pleasure. That's the point he's speaking about in this morning walk. If you heard this, that's how this world
Body.
works. It's like we have a body, we have a mind. There are two separate things, and one can feel pleasure and the other one can be totally in hell, you know. It's that's the nature of this world. It's possible. So it's not that he was speaking some abusive language or something, you know. Yeah. And also we have this Christianity in the West, which instills in people this shame, you know, towards sex, you know, in one sense. So that's why in the West, people don't speak about it much. In India, it's not a taboo. In Vedic culture, it was never taboo. If you go into South India and check these statues of women. Oh, it's like pornography. Big breasts, and it's like they were not ashamed of this. Otherwise, they would not put it on temples. They had no contradiction here. They were aware what is a woman, what is a man. There's a certain sex life in certain period of life. It's a normal thing. It's not a taboo. But Christianity, it instills some, like guilt in you, and it goes into ISKCON because we come from Christian countries, backgrounds, and this goes from generation to generation, and you bring this also in ISKCON. That's natural. Plus, I think society should be led, inspired by sannyasis, but not led by sannyasis, not managed by sannyasis. Grihastas should be the managers of society, because they naturally have children, and when you have children, you learn how to be empathic towards others, patient. You learn that you cannot just expect from children everything the first day. You have to be patient. They will learn gradually, and it's not about this detachment so much. I don't see it in bhakti yoga. When you practice bhakti, then you get two side benefits. One is you get spiritual knowledge, and you get detachment, and this detachment comes naturally. You don't have to force it. It's not, we are not practicing the path of detachment. No, we are practicing the path of bhakti. And on this path of bhakti, detachment will come naturally. So you should not be too much focused on detachment, or either on knowledge, because then you practice jnana yoga, not bhakti yoga, or impersonalists are more concerned with detachment, and jnana yogis are more concerned with tapasya and so on, but we are not neither. We shouldn't be focused in neither. We should be focused on bhakti, and then naturally we will become detached from these things. Also, one point is we should get positive experience, not just negative, preaching all the time negative. Devotees, they have to experience also some positive effects from their grihasta ashram, and
to become detached.
For example, if you have strong desire to be rich, to have material opulence, okay, then go for it. Be successful, because then you will realize it's not enough. It's not enough, actually. It doesn't fulfill the deepest desires. It doesn't satisfy them. Then you will have realization, okay, I'm rich, but I'm not happy. Like Jim Carrey said, he said, like, I wish for you everybody to become successful, rich, and everything. Then you realize it's not enough. He has all this fame and money and everything, but it doesn't bring the fulfillment which you're actually looking for. And the same thing, you can have a nice grihasta ashram, you can have nice house, everything what you want. You can have experience with sex life, what it is actually. Go into sex life very consciously. When I was in material consciousness, usually there was intoxication. You're not even conscious what you're doing. This sex life, is usually full of intoxication, but you have to be conscious of what you're doing to realize what this actually is, this activity. What does it bring to you? What do you get out of it? And what you don't get out of it? Because people are in illusion. And this is something you have to be aware that you need some positive experience. What is the maximum you can get out of this material experience, even if you are a devotee? Then you have positive realization, and then you can move on. You can really detach from a positive experience, not just everything is bad, and the typical preaching of a brahmachari or sannyasi, or it's everything is bad, the whole world is bad. Yes, it is bad. It will never fulfill all your desires, no chance, because we are spiritual in nature. But you need these realizations to get over.
Yeah. Otherwise, usually men, when men get into this, what's the middle age crisis,
Mm.
like a second chance. Now the next woman, now this will be,
or the last chance
yeah, the last
to experience something.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's a biological driver that tells you that if you're ever going to do it again, it has to be now, because this is your last chance.
Or if you still didn't do it, something, even if you're your wife, it doesn't have to be always some other wife or something, but now is the time. If you are lacking some experience in material world, now it's still the time. When you're 70, 80, it's gone, it's finished. And yeah,
That
and Krishna
experience of
sorry, go ahead.
no, you go ahead. You bring in
just
a lot of good.
Sorry, go.
No, you wanted to say something. Fine, it's fine. Go ahead, please.
No, I just wanted to say that Krishna made everything so nicely. First period of life, it's good to be a brahmachari. It's good to learn, to get some knowledge, theoretical knowledge, because you don't have practical knowledge yet, but you get some theoretical knowledge and you practice how to control senses. And then at one point you decide if you want to go pravriti or stay in nivriti marg. And if you go pravriti, okay, then you have certain period of life, you have kids, you experience what does it mean to be entangled, to take care of kids and everything, to bring them up. And then comes naturally this period of vanaprastha. It's a natural, because then you are fed up, actually. At that point, tired, a little bit tired and fed up. It comes naturally. Kids are grown up, they're moving out, getting their own life together. And now your natural desire comes up. Okay, I want to give the business to the kids. I just want to go to Vrindavan, different places, go on holy dham, pilgrimage. It's a natural. And it's so nice. And then gradually you realize even that, okay, we will have to depart at one point, somebody of us will die sooner or later. One will go first, and you have to also realize this point. And then you see people around you dying, your friends, you get in the old age and they're starting to dying, and it's a natural sannyas period. You don't have to declare it to the whole world that I'll take sannyas now. It's natural. Everything is natural, but you have to also experience some grihasta period properly. Then it will become natural. Everything else later on will become natural. If you see Prabhupada's life, it was all natural. To come to this stage when he gave up everything and just followed the instruction of his guru and went to the United States and so on and so on. It's natural. But if you put sannyas to unexperienced men who still have material or sexual desires, it's kind of a disaster. And they're not natural in that ashram. And what we noticed also, that they don't advance properly. When you speak to certain sannyasis, sometimes I get more realizations, spiritual realizations from grihastas, than from a sannyasi. And then we discussed about this, and we came to a conclusion that they do not follow properly their ashram. Sannyas ashram in ISKCON is almost like being a rock star, having big money accounts, first class tickets, disciples massaging you, cooking for you, ironing. You're like a king. What kind of sannyas ashram is this? And then you're afraid of losing all this, and then you compromise with what you speak. A sannyasi should be fearless preacher, not attached to anything, not money, not dependent on disciples, nothing. He should be fearless. Then he can preach as it is. And because of this, they don't have certain realizations. in their personal spiritual life. That's what we see in practice. I don't want to diminish anybody. I will not call anybody's name, but in general, I'm quite disappointed. You know, after 30 and some years in Bhakti Yoga, now I can see a little bit more, you know, what really is going and what's not going. You know, when you come at the beginning, everybody's super nice, everybody's pure devotee, but then later on you see how many where people are, what are their realizations.
Because you have knowledge.
Yeah, you get some inner knowledge, some experience, realizations, and then you see where people are. Are they advanced or not? They're just faking till you make it. You know this mantra? They're still faking it after so many years, still faking it, still not there, you know.
Faking it
so
and not
on.
making it.
Yeah, still not making it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I think a lot of things comes to the being inauthentic.
yeah.
I think that is the basic thing of every single living entity in this world, desiring something but doing something different, like a pretending. You know, there's a pretending life. Going back to the topic of sex in a marital relationship, Krishna himself, how I understand, this is my understanding, I'm sure there is a better understanding for every single person because everyone is going through the evolution of realization. For my understanding, Krishna himself says, I am sex in a marriage in the religious.
Kamosmi Bharatarshaba, 7th chapter, maybe text 21. And then Srila Prabhupada renders it I am sex. That is
Within
not
religious.
contrary to religious principles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sex life for begetting children, for begetting progeny.
So
Kamosmi Bharatarshaba.
okay, so let's go back just to the thing of sex. For me, is connection with the person who you are engaged with. Understanding the mood of the person, understanding the desire of the person, and then trying to match that. Because when you give pleasure, or this is a service, of course, when you give service to your husband or your husband gives you service to you, that means the person is in connection with you and wants to do the service. This is love. This is my understanding. This is love. Because I understand you, you mean you have of me.
Mhm.
And when Krishna says, I am sex within the marital the whole
Not contrary to religious principles.
not contrary to religious.
For begetting progeny.
Yeah, that one.
For begetting progeny. For having children.
All of them.
Yeah.
Is there? It doesn't. Sex is the most intense part of intimacy,
Mhm.
where you connect to the soul of other person, and then I can understand. Wow, Krishna is so powerful and just mystic, so mystic. It's switched on and switched off. It's just no wonder why the world is looking so much to connect, and the only way to connect is through sex. But that's not really. It's not only the act, you know, two bodies rubbing and that's it. It's beyond that, beyond like, who am I having? Who is this soul I'm connecting with? What is my service towards this person, and how do I serve this person? So that person is happy in his consciousness or her consciousness, and is happy in what she is feeling. And that the joy that comes out of it is children that are made with love and super consciousness there, like the meditation and that. That's for me. That's my understanding. Krishna is sex. It's like, Krishna, you're amazing.
Yeah, you can actually realize that verse, you know, Kamosmi Bharatarshava, like be in the direct experience of the presence of like the reality of that. And it's dharmic, it's all connected with the creation of children. Like the Kardama Muni Devahuti Leela is she wants to have a child. And so then this whole thing comes around that. Like there's the creation of the set and the setting, And I was reflecting on this the other day. You spoke about the midlife crisis. It's kind of like, you say, oh, a woman who's a nun, the Bhagavad-gita shows us that no woman is fundamentally a nun. Devahuti looks like a nun. She's in the ashram.
Healthy woman. Normal, healthy woman. Normal, healthy. Like mentally healthy, physically healthy. She will not be a nun. So depends now, why is she acting like a nun? Is this out of some spiritual realization or some traumatic experience,
Yeah, exactly.
Can be either.
And looking into it, because the way we sort of came around to this topic was from my mentioning Srila Prabhupada's infamous purport from the Bhagavatam, where he says, although it may be illegal, it is a fact that a woman likes a man who is very expert at rape. People take a left turn on that and they say, oh, you're advocating rape, or Prabhupada's advocating rape, or we don't understand what he really meant, or anything like that. To me, it's self-evident and clear. There's no injunction to do anything about that. To give you an example, the other morning we watched a video of Kevin Mitnick, who's a famous hacker. And then I was explaining something about, some different hacking exploits. And Dana Devi says to me, I think I like people who are clever and dangerous. And then she says, I don't like danger, but I like people who are dangerous. And so there's a real necessity to be like very precise and crystal clear with this purport and understanding it. It doesn't say that women like to be raped. It does say that they like a man who's very expert at rape. And those are two very different things. And if you just simply sit with it and meditate on that, what does this mean about the female sexual psyche? There's all kinds of contradictions in there. Like you could say, and this is from my own experience of having had this experience of this man who, was molesting me, we could say, the contradictory natures of this and the things that can, but it's like, okay, if Srila Prabhupada says a woman likes a man who's very expert at rape, and you can take the case that she doesn't want to be raped, just like my wife said, I like a person who's dangerous, but I don't like danger. So it's like the question then becomes,
Special rasa in there.
Yeah, what is the thing that they like about that? Because there's obviously things that they're not going to like about that. Okay, well, that goes without saying, and Prabhupada prefaces it by saying it's illegal. There's no call to perform illegal activity here. But what is the thing in there that women like? That was what became my meditation on this verse, to understand like what is underlying there and what is in there. As I did all kinds of different research and things to understand things, one of the things that I looked into was I asked questions like, why do women like to be spanked? And then just look into that, find out what it is. And then I find out it's like Devahuti in the Bhagavatam, the only reason that we know she's an absolute freak in the bedroom is because we have the X-ray vision into the castle. Otherwise she looks like a nun. But by the Bhagavatam's mercy, we get to see that. So that's why I'm like, no woman is a nun. I don't care what you look like in public. I know that in public you have a necessity to look like a saint and be a saint and everything. And then in the right context, in the right setting, in the case of a devotee with Devahuti and Karma Muni, her dharmic husband, for the purposes of procreation, dude, she's getting it freaky all kinds 6 ways from Sunday, or 9 ways from Sunday. But my point with that is that looking into it, maybe it was Alexander Grace or someone, he was saying that women can re-experience traumatic experiences from their earlier life sexually in a safe environment. This is not for all women, because not all women have had traumatic experiences, but they can re-experience them in a safe environment, and that helps them to reintegrate that themselves, because they experience the part of it that they enjoyed and that they liked, and it's in an environment where they can integrate. Because what we see from Devahuti's character, the split nature of her character, the duality of it, is that women have this contradictory desire that they want to be pure and saintly. And they're freaky as anything, man. I spoke at this one men's retreat, and it was just men, and I was talking about these kinds of things, and there were some devotee men there without much experience, and they were just like, no, it's not true. And there were these two devotee men there, and non-devotee men who had like a lot of experience with women, and they just interrupted and were just like, dude, I'm sorry to tell you, man, that women are freaky, man. They will make you do things that you do not want to do. You know, if you look at the Kardamamuni pastime, he walks into that bedroom, and then he's like, I'm here for this, you know, you wanted this, and so we're going to do this. He's created the right set and setting and everything. It's this private environment. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. What happens in Kardamamuni's castle stays in the castle. And then he just starts, and then he's just like, more, okay. And he just keeps ramping it up. He doesn't walk in there and suddenly expand into 9 forms. He's in there in the exploration of his wife's desire and her sexuality and what she wants, and it just keeps expanding and expanding. And as a man, when you read that, you're like, my wife has a capacity that I can't meet. Kardamamuni is able to do it, but like, it's like he shows that, and he doesn't make it wrong. He doesn't say to her, wow, you're really disgusting, or that's really weird, or anything like that. He's just like, hey, this is what you're into. It's like, I'm down for it, you know, I'm here to serve you. And at the same time, she's also pure and saintly. And these are two very contradictory desires that a woman has. If you study the pastime and the character of Devahuti and Kardamamuni and how he interacts with that. And I don't know what my point was, but there you go.
I can add something to this story.
Please do.
After all these activities, they got 9 daughters, and after all this, they got Kapila Muni, you know, which is Krishna coming into their family. Krishna doesn't have any problem with this. You know, oh, this family is too much for me. I'm not going there. You know,
Too lasty woman. See you later.
yeah, or something.
Next
You know,
one.
like, you know, he doesn't see it like we often do. You know, and also we have to see sex through different modes of nature. Observe. You know, sex life in a mode of passion is different than in a in Tamagun, than Raja and Sattva and so on. It's a little different. It changes the dynamics. If you observe the animals, which are more in Tamagun, you know, the most lowest kinds, you lose the head sometimes. You know, this mantis, she eats his head after the sex life, you know.
And the Black Widow.
A Black Widow kills the husband, and so you know, the partner. And you know, when you go lower, everything becomes more gross, more heavy, rough. You know, the more you go up, the more becomes everything more subtle. You know, demigods, they enjoy sexual energy in more subtle ways than we do here on Earth. They have different levels of consciousness. Krishna also, he's transcendental. He doesn't like, he's not into sex for pleasure. When he comes and he has 16,000 queens, you know, queens, you know, he had like 10 sons or 10 children with each. Even if you have sex only for procreation, you know how many times you have to do it. He's not into this, you know. And
it says in Krishna book that Krishna, Prabhupada says this, that Krishna was detached, and his queens tried to seduce him to have more sex, but they couldn't, you know, only for children. He had only for children. But if you count, you know, how many children, that's a lot of sex.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
When you say only for children, it's like all I hear is like more children. You know?
This is
I don't
what
hear less
Prabhupada
sex. I just hear more children.
Yeah.
There's a verse
Exactly.
in Bhagavatam where Prabhupada says, and devotees, they enjoy sex in this life and the next life. You know, sometimes, you know, he goes a little bit out of classical, you know, preaching. And, you know, but you have to put this all together. It's not black and white. You have to put the practical life together with practice of bhakti yoga. If you're fanatic or narrow-minded, it will not work. In real life, it doesn't work. You need to get realizations. Then you'll be detached. You cannot force yourself into detachment. I mean, I don't see how. Let's say if you're a brahmachari and you're happy being alone as a brahmachari, you don't need any desire to have a family life. You have some realizations from previous life. So it means you got realizations from previous life. You have experienced it in previous life. Now you can move on. You can move on. It's not that, you're just here, oh yeah, and, because you have certain realizations, now you can accept just by hearing that you actually, it's better to don't get entangled and just focus your mind on Krishna. Well, you have realizations, you can do it. But if you don't have, then after some time, the first, small thoughts come. You see this Mataji here, contemplation starts. And then at the end, you think only about Matajis. Where's Krishna? Better to go into grihasta ashram with knowledge to get experience and be sincere. For example, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he doesn't like insincerity. What was Chota? Chota one.
Chota Haridas.
Yeah, Chota Haridas. He noticed that he has some desires in his heart, and he was heavy. He was not heavy.
Exactly.
He was not heavy with grihastas. Grihastas. Yeah. It's okay. Just be sincere. If you need this, go through it. But go through it as a gentleman. Try to do it in a sattvic way as much as possible. You have the top standard and you have the minimum standard. At least don't go outside of marriage. Don't push other Matajis into these relationships which are just lusty, nothing serious. Don't pollute other girls and so on. Take take responsibility and work inside the grihasta ashram.
And I would say one more thing on top of that about the minimum standard, and that is like with your wife, you are not just using her for sexual pleasure. I mean, that's there. Not. Let's be real. And you're out to have children.
Yeah.
This idea of wanting to play without paying, it's the logic of the half hen, the Adha Kakuti Nyaya. Have as much sex as you want and have as many children as you do and maintain all of them and be a man. It's not, you're not being a man if you want to have sex with your wife and you're not like, I will give you children, I will impregnate you and you will be the mother of my children. And that is incredibly fulfilling for a woman when you approach her like that. When you approach her like, oh, I just want to use you, it's like, get a rubber doll, man. Get a silicon doll, robot, sex doll. Otherwise, it's like, Kamosmi Bharatarshaba, I am sex life for begetting progeny. That's powerful. It's connecting. It's the whole picture. It's the whole package. So whenever I hear, I never hear less sex. I just hear more children. That's all. That's when the engine is connected to the drive chain. And, in our case, we're out to have more children. And, part of the whole picture of that is we lost our first child, Vishnu Prem. Today's actually our 1 year anniversary of our Vedic wedding ceremony, which happened today 1 year ago. We got married a year before that.
You surviving, husband.
Yeah, and it's been 2 years, and we're still in the game of having more children. That's and good. It's like, it actually, this is just me being real about this, is like sometimes it's really hard because it's like, yeah, there's the desire, but then it's like when your wife has a miscarriage, it's kind of like all of the danger of childbirth and all of the mess of childbirth without the child. And it's like, this sucks, man. And then your wife is deeply upset, distraught about the whole thing. And then it's kind of like, okay, now we're going to try again. And you're like, dude, do I really want to do this? And then there's like all kinds of stuff like, the calculating the ovulation and the this, and it's like, you get the astrological times, and then it's like now you have to perform on time at this, and you're like, oh my god, it's like
Usually it
I'm
doesn't
not
work.
in the mood.
No, usually it
Overwhelming.
doesn't work. I mean, I don't know for others, but for me it doesn't work. Like on a schedule, that's a little bit unnatural.
Ah, man.
Yeah.
Dude,
We
me,
we
yeah,
tried
I'm not
tried for
perform.
the first kid. Like very calculated, 50 rounds and everything. Nothing came. We tried a few times like this. Then we stopped for 2 years about thinking about having children. It just
It was not the time.
It was not the time. Certain souls will come to you, and sometimes it's not the time. It's not the proper time.
Yeah, and also if you want to push it into some astrological point,
Yeah,
and if it's not your karma, it
Yeah,
just doesn't
it will not come.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also there's one aspect which I recommend to all
Yeah.
couples who are trying to get children. Talk to your wife, talk to your husband. What kind of child you desire? What kind of nature you want for this child to have? Is it more like kshatriya? Is it more like good boy? Is it more like rascal? But powerful. You cannot have both. You cannot have
You have
all
to be
aspects.
aligned.
It has to be aligned, and you have to be aligned. And our experience is the first child, exactly the sex we wanted, the nature exactly what we wanted, and it works. You can project,
And the second and the third also.
also the sex we wanted, the nature they have exactly what we ordered. You can
But they also
influence
have
this.
some other things we didn't predict.
Yeah, of course. but then you see it's all in you, in both of you. This
Yeah.
all aspects from children, some are more agreeable, some are completely non-agreeable, because first child we wanted more agreeable. We got such a boy, he's so nice, so focused. And then we wanted the opposite, more like more passion,
Yep.
and we got such a boy. It's amazing how this focus actually works. And you have to focus it together, because you are summoning the child. You're calling for such a soul to come in your family. So it's good to meditate first, to have a discussion, focus, meditate. Then Krishna will send.
And also the child is the most important part of grihasta package, because having a child gets you a lot of realizations and teaches you to be tolerant and humble.
Yeah, and you have
it's
to
a real,
be exemplary.
yeah,
You can speak a lot, but they don't teach from your words. I mean,
learn.
they learn. Yeah, they don't learn from your words. They learn from how you behave. That's the aspect. Yeah, so you have to grow up actually.
Yes.
Which is good. Which is good.
I agree. Yeah, I totally agree in the aspects that you are discussing. Now, I want to touch to the part. There's 3 parts I want to touch from the conversation. One of the things you mentioned, I think my husband too, agree with that. It's if you are moving to the grihasta ashram and you want to get married, one thing that I find it absolutely disturbing as a woman is the man doesn't know what he wants. They just want to touch like they were shopping. I like this tasting. I taste it. Nah, I taste this. Nah, it is highly.
Is this about the rooster hanging around?
No, mi amor. No, it's about the nature of males taking women as if they were some sort of like not only shopping. There's a tasting sampling thing. You know what? I want a woman this. They have so idealistic. I don't know in what world they are living. but they have so idealistic, they created this ideal of a woman, the perfect woman, but they themselves cannot prove themselves to be the ideal man. Therefore, they
Yeah.
go into this thing of like, oh, I want to go to this Mataji. I'm going to taste her. Oh, no, actually, no. Oh, next one. I'm going to taste this Mataji. Oh, no, actually, no. What kind of man are you? Because that kind of man is not a man. How do you supposed to take a woman that is chaste and respect you if you're going like that, disrespecting mothers? Because women are meant to be considered as mothers, right?
Women other than one's wife.
Other than, well, yeah.
Be weird if I considered you to be my mother.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Rasa basa.
Ugh, okay. So we have to be responsible with what do we really want. We have to get to the point of like be authentic. Write it down who you really are, your nature, your flaws. And now, what kind of wife do you have? Because a wife is someone that is going to teach you something that you need to learn. That is just a fact. And it's the opposite for the woman as well. And we experienced that with my husband, you know?
Yeah, we too.
Yeah, it's natural. And actually, it should be.
Complement each other. Yeah, actually.
Yeah. And then we have to be grateful that the person that is next to us is actually teaching us something that we don't have. We need to develop. And that is the blessing of being in a grihasta life. There is no other grihasta is going to teach you that. Of course, there will be other rasas that you're going to experience with other people in friendship or mentor to pupil, all of that. But it's completely different when it comes to the relationship, intimate relationship, because it is a different area where you are very vulnerable. The person is observing you day and night.
And literally
who
naked
you are.
too, yeah.
Yeah, naked too. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So there is no place for us to hide in that because it's the mirror. The person is mirroring us. And as a woman and as a man, we have to be responsible of like who I am and what are my dark sides and what are my bright sides. What do I bring to this table? And if we're going to become idealistic with a woman or with the man that we want, come on, we have to be idealistic who we really are.
Realistic, rather.
Realistic, yeah. The other thing is creating a child. Srila Prabhupada and the scriptures are spot on. I cannot tell Srila Prabhupada, you wrong, Srila Prabhupada. I cannot. And what to speak of the scriptures, like Krishna himself is speaking to us. And there that supports your begotten a child when you and your wife, you synchronize of like, what kind of child we're going to create. Creation doesn't start the moment you start in intercourse with your wife.
Yeah.
Creation starts the moment you are thinking about a child, what kind of child we want to bring. You start discussing. The discussion comes the moment of creation, the nature. Do you want a female? Do you want a male? And like what qualities do you want your child to have? This is actually creation. And at the same time, you synchronizing with your wife to call that kind of soul. It's like, come on, how wonderful it is we can create not only our wives, we call it into that soul, the wife that we want or the husband we want in that way. This is the power of Krishna consciousness, When you're having a child, think about the soul that you are bringing. Call upon that soul into your life. And that child is the most incredible thing. And this is my view. My daughter had taught me something that I wasn't aware that I have, or I was able to do. They are one of these living entities that will give so much joy into your life, and also is going to scrape all of your accumulated darkness, accumulated misconceptions, or things you haven't developed, the strengthening your muscle that is not actually working for you. That's me.
I have like 2 points. One point is we had these questionnaires for young people, and they would fill the questionnaire, and then we could see, them on the questionnaire, and we would talk about each point, and then we could, give advice or ask them how they envision this and things like that. Because people are, they are getting into marriage. Like, if you want to buy a car, you will find, you will have some criteria, you will have some money on your account, you will ask the person who sells the car about the car, you will know what you are getting into. And marriage and relationships today, people,
They have no idea what
yeah,
they
what
are
they are
going.
getting into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
So
go into the tickle of the tickle they feel.
Yeah.
yeah.
The chemistry, the hormones are dictating, and they can be very powerful, these hormones.
Oh yes.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. It can be so powerful that you experience physical pain, when, especially, when you practice brahmacharya, detachment, for a longer time, celibacy and so on. There's a story about Menaka and what was the rishi or the mendicant there. He just heard the ankle bells. He was finished.
Yes. Yeah.
He
with
was
the pot,
finished,
right?
Yeah, he was finished. And if you are in celibacy for a long time, there's a little bit you need, not much, and you're finished. You're completely off rails,
Agitated. Mhm.
agitated, and then you come physically in contact, with wife, and the hormones, they demand sex. If you don't, like a
Process.
pressure cooker, if you don't put out the steam at one point, it
Release
can
it.
blow. I had to experience myself even before Bhakti Yoga. I was in love with one girl, and we didn't have anything, not physical. We were just lying in the bed, and next day I couldn't walk. I had physical pain because of my, testosterone levels and hormones. I was in such a pain I could hardly walk. It's, the body is so powerful. You have to know what you're dealing with, how this body works, how the mind works. You need some knowledge how to deal with these energies. It's so powerful, and you have to get some knowledge, and you cannot restrain yourself artificially. What happens when you play guitar and you start, your strings, if you go too long, it will break.
Snap.
Yeah, it will snap. The same way is with sexual energy. I have seen, I will not name the names, but I have seen some gurus are completely fanatic about this detachment. They don't even allow their disciples to get married when it's still proper time. And then you hear, oh, he just banged one Mataji there, another there. It doesn't work like this. You cannot, like a string. You cannot push them over their limits. It's very unproductive. It's harmful for the society. It's not protecting the Matajis at the end. If you
And women in general.
in women in general, yeah, you have to know these things. How to, when it's the proper time. Otherwise, you'll be too much thinking about these things and not thinking about Krishna anymore at one point. And when you get into grihasta ashram, even if you are following the minimum standard, I'm not recommending anything. I'm just saying, even if you are not able to go higher, then at least go to the minimum standard, and you'll be able to think about Krishna most of the time. Even if sometimes it happens that hormones and everything comes up, and even if you're not in a situation to want to have children yet at this point in your life, maybe you're still not, you don't have even proper house or anything, maybe it's not the proper time, at least you'll be able to think about Krishna most of the time, and you're still not going against the religious principles. You're not going outside the marriage. For example, I know someone, who didn't understand this properly, because he's a little bit extremist by nature. So when people are extreme, they usually tend to understand everything too much black and white. He had a wife, but he was going to prostitute at the same time, because he thought, why should I bother my wife with this, my desire, which I cannot control anymore? It's too much. And then at one point he went to his guru complaining, what to do. And Guru said, well, you have lusty desire, go to your wife. Why did you come to me? Go to your wife. It's that's why you enter this ashram. If you have such strong energy in you, you have to channel it properly. And that's
Correct.
why
The second point is the compatibility between a man and a woman for marriage. It's actually in Vedic culture, it's meant for children.
and also you can stay together
Yeah.
the whole life. I mean, the whole
Yeah,
time,
but people don't know this, that it's meant for children, that they are, of
same nature. Then because child gets from both, and if they are not compatible, then the child will have two natures which are not compatible in himself, and it will be conflicted, and it will be harder to find himself in this world, what to do, how to
even
situate.
Varna.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
I'd like to push back on something that you said there. And it's about the timing, like maybe it's not the right time. See, the desire to have sex it's an urge from within the body to replace itself. We must replace these bodies. It's a duty that we have. It's a natural urge. The body is like, I need to create more bodies. It's like from within, it's the desire to reproduce and survive of the body itself. The body, it's a vehicle, and it has natural impulses. It needs to eat, it needs to breathe, it needs to drink water, and it needs to reproduce itself to create another body. You are the latest descendant of an unbroken line of millions of bodies that reproduced. It's like, like there's no way you could be more genetically engineered. Your body could be more genetically engineered for it. We watched a podcast with Tucker Carlson the other day, and at the end, Lex Friedman asked him, what advice do you have for young people? And he says, have children as soon as you can. Like, don't wait. And he said this, he said, men, we'll do nothing until we have to. But when we have to do it, we'll do anything. And, there were a couple of men who were with me in Wellington in the protests down there. And there is a direct connection between how you relate to Srila Prabhupada's purport, the controversial one, and how you responded to the pandemic, in my experience. These two guys were down there, chanting, like crossing social opinion, standing courageously against, the police, the government, the whole thing. And then the three of us, we were all married within months after the protests, and they both now have children. We lost our child, they have theirs, but like their whole thing was like, I'm not ready, and I'm like, you'll never be ready. If you're looking to when you're going to be ready, you're never going to be ready. You're always going to have something or this, that, and the other thing. It's like you have the child and then you'll just figure it out, man. It will cause you. Having the child will make you a man. If you wait to be a man until you have a child, it's not going to happen. Every male is born as a son, but like it's not until you become a father that you really start to discover yourself and what's required from you and what you're capable of. Like you'll do things for your children that you would never do for yourself, and you'll never know that until you have them. Like I have a son Prahlad, he's 21 now, and Dana has Isabella, who's 15. So between us, we have these two from our previous marriages, relationships. And when Prahlad was born, my wife and I were living in a temple in South America and had absolutely nothing. I used to bathe him in the thing where they have where we would wash the plates, you know,
The sink.
in the sink. Yeah, there was only cold water. Like, you know, sometimes there was no electricity, and like it's like people are like, no, I have to wait until I've got this, that, and the other thing. But it's like once you have that child, it'll turn you out. So I just wanted to, because this idea that, oh, I want to have sex, but I'm not going to bother my wife. It's like, just link everything together. You have this desire to have sex, to enjoy. You're married, you have a wife, impregnate your wife, have a child, be a man, get on with life, you know? Why caught up in all this mental kind of speculation about things? That's my take on it.
What I had in mind about the time was that one example where the couple was only trying to beget a child in this special moment, one moment in the whole month, you know, so that it will be a perfect child.
I see. And then the rest of the time, it's like I'm going to do something else instead.
Yeah. And, you
I can
know,
see that.
and nothing happened, you know, so maybe you try in some less perfect time and something less perfect will come.
I
This
was
is
like,
my-
as long as we can, I was like, as long as we can hit the magical time, then whenever, you know, whatever child comes from it, we can just say that that was the occasion that it happened. And the other ones were, they didn't, you know, they didn't cause the child. That was our approach to that.
After all, you know, if we think about all of the ins and outs and timing and everything, after all, it's Krishna as well. Because the thing that I came after our lost, I think I think we actually lost three sets of babies. The last one was 2 babies, and that was within the 2 years we are together. So we winning. I'm joking. My attachment, this is me, my attachment is like, I want this specific soul that will serve Krishna and Srila Prabhupada. This is still my desire, you know, someone that can be loyal, someone that can be like a very spiritual soul. That in this world, we come in with all of our baggages. For sure, he's going to have all these material accumulations from previous life. But some few qualities that I really want my child to have, and that is a child that is very loyal to Srila Prabhupada and Krishna consciousness. That is my desire. And about the sex thing and some devotees going outside the marriage to release that urge. It's one thing we need to understand about, and that comes to the connection about communication. We need to be able to be vulnerable, you know, to the desires of your husband, to the desires of your wife, in a way that is, you know, she's understanding you, she is seeing you for who you really are, the vulnerable person of yours. And that way, you know who you're dealing with. And when you were pointing out, Prabhu, being a man and how to be a man and how to, I think my husband said that, inside that love, the chemistry, not only the chemistry, but the chemistry for the body to relax, we need to be able how to speak to our woman. That's why it comes to the word of expert. The way you approach, even for being vulnerable, we have to be expert at it. And what do I mean by being expert at it? Like, know yourself, who you really are, and share that with your partner.
expert at communicating how do you feel and what do you feel. And when you have this vulnerable conversation with your wife, she will understand where you're coming from. So she's not going to behave that person of like, I got to be religious and I can only do once a month and you cannot touch me because this is sinful. It creates so much damages to the relationship, not only to the person itself, like the psychological and the body itself, also the whole spiritual thing. It's just killing it, absolutely killing it. And when it comes a woman, we have to be very expert at listening to our partners. This is obviously, I'm not going to speak for everybody else, but I'm learning. I mean, this is discovery, like, how do I listen to my husband without filters, without my past coming to the front, like, and avoiding or preventing that full communication from him. And it's the same for my husband, but
Yeah.
and this is like the discovery, like, how do I match him and where do I meet him in the middle? So he is comfortable, he is protected in that way. And this is our role as a wives. It is our role to protect our husbands for his desires not to go astray and end up somewhere else.
Mhm.
And it's the role of a husband to allow your wife to express herself and be so vulnerable into you and say, this is how I'm feeling, this is what I want to feel. Then it will open this space of full communication, respect for each other about how we are communicating or what we are communicating without demonizing the other person, without making the other person feel wrong about what he's feeling.
Yeah.
And then have children and then work like a dog to support them.
Yeah, intimacy doesn't mean only what goes on in bedroom. Intimacy means a lot of discussions, sincere discussions, open-minded, and yeah, this is necessary. I have seen that many couples, they don't go beyond what are their daily duties. Job, a little bit children, prashadam, money, basic stuff, but they don't discuss anything deeper, what's going on in the relationship. And they have desires, but they don't speak about them. They are unfulfilled, they are frustrated, or and it's important for a wife to not be nagging all the time. And if a man comes from a hard work from outside, then all he gets is another nagging, every day. Then in the job, there's a lady co-worker, and she's nice. Then what will happen? Eventually, if she's interested in him, he will go to her. That's how it works. So we have to be nice to each other. We have to be open-minded, discussing, and it all comes down to our guna and karma. We have to raise the consciousness. It's a marathon. I see spiritual life as a marathon, not a sprint, 100-meter sprint. You have to do it in a right way, so you'll come to the end of this marathon alive, not with broken legs and so on,
Can I say?
Yeah.
We grihasta ashram is an ashram, and we both have to work that this really is an ashram. What's the English word?
It's a
Sanctuary.
Place of
protective
shelter.
place of
Shelter.
shelter.
Yeah.
Yes.
We both have to work at this. And also women have this tendency to always check the relationship, what is going on. Are we still, what kind of relationship we have? And we just need to, use it properly and, use it in the benefit of the husband, not in the opposite, to kill the husband and your relationship, We have to be nice. That's our
Yeah.
nature.
Yeah.
My father was in a his family was, I mean, his mother was nagging a lot, and his father, he even made I think like a suicide. You know, he was drinking a lot. So my father, he really wanted women to be quiet, you know. And uh, he taught me how to control the mind. And you know, like he had few mantras like, you don't need this, do you really need this, and some other mantras, you know, to be quiet. And when you have your mind under control, you are happy, you don't need much and things like that. This I really appreciated with him, you know. And I also noticed women around me when he was all the time pointing out, oh, she's so talking so much, she's too loud and things like that. I really noticed that women really can be annoying with all this talking a lot. So you have to know your husband, how much you talk, and when he needs his space, give the space to a man, you know, and things like that.
Yeah, in my country, we have a culture where men, they like to escape out of the household. You know, after the work, they went to the pub because at least in the pub, somebody understood them, their hard work and hard life. You know, when they go home, you know, they were nobody at home. You know, the wife was always on their case. You know, putting them down, and yeah,
And also men need to talk about manly stuff, you know,
with men,
be men and things like that. When there is a woman in the association, or you know, in the group,
circle,
in the room.
yeah, then they have to little bit adjust the speech and the topics, and you know, so they also need their manly world.
Yeah, sure.
That's very tough.
I think that, yeah, I think that point of like men being with another man to discuss whatever they're going through and express the way they want to express without being like, oh, you know, with a wife that's just like completely out of her case. It is very important for male to find a group that who they resonate with, who they can trust. It's very important. And for females, it's very important as well to be in discussion with females about, you know, just most of the things that I see a female is either they're not being listened, acknowledged, and the frustration comes to that. That is my person, myself as well. I get frustrated when I'm not getting heard or listened. So therefore, there's who else you're going to share your rant.
A husband.
Yeah. Should I go to another guy that has the ears to listen to me?
No.
Impossible.
No.
Exactly. Impossible. Do I want to go to another lady that listens to me? Yes, because, you know, there are friends, because best friends are just like, I know you're upset, rant. That's natural for females. And then we cool down. So I think the whole thing for developing a strong groups or communities, it's females being encouraged, empowered by females, because we can understand between each other as a females, right? Males cannot understand it.
Yeah.
Grandmothers, mothers, or best friends, people that are kind of exemplary, you know, people that are going to say, look, I think this is what you do, and maybe you should do this way, you know what I mean? Then we need the input of other people, because if I look into the upside, whether you are male or female, this is what happens to the mind. You are focused on something, you are fixated into something, and that upside, it is unable to be easily brought it out. So there is a moment when it goes boom, explodes.
And we don't want to, obviously, the ideal thing would be like we smoothly come out and start expressing ourselves. But there are going to be times when there's not going to be that ideal time. So just let it be. Accept the things as they are. Okay, I'm observing this upset person. I'm just going to watch you. I'm just going to be with you. Okay, I hear you're very upset. All right. This is in the psychotherapy. Okay, you upset. Tell me more about that. There's different ways of psychotherapy. Okay, tell me more about this. Okay, you upset. Who did that? And then, you can express yourself freely, or this person, that person, you can call their names and whatever. We have to create a safe space as a husband and wives as well, where your wife can be completely herself because she's going into this upset, and it's okay. She's not crazy. She's not weird, or she's not wrong. She is just the way she's expressing, and it's okay.
Well,
and
she's
it's
all of those
perfect.
things, but she's not wrong. Yeah.
She's
She's weird. She's crazy. She's contradictory. She's mysterious.
And
And
it's
there's nothing
okay.
wrong with that.
And it's okay. Don't make the person wrong. It is okay. And then there will be a moment when you see, it's like, okay, can we have more conversation about this? I hear you say this. What do you mean by that? So we have more clarity where you get to a point like, okay, yes. There is a nice mutual respectful conversation. And it's the same with your husband. Your husband sometimes may go into this crazy mode, angry mode. It's okay. You're so angry. This is the way you're expressing yourself. Obviously, I'm not encouraging about physical abuse, I'm not encouraging by ways. But it's just the way, like, give that person a space. Let the person express her anger or her upset in a way, because this is the only way that person deal with so far, and it's okay. And we're going to work in how we go out of this always being that way, or expressing your anger or your frustration in that way. So that becomes the role of a wife. I respect your emotions. It's okay. And let be together like that. I love you the way you are. And I love the way you're not. And I still love you despite that. I still love you. That's the thing that we need to create in our partners, Doesn't matter what ugly part comes out of you, I still love you because I made a vow to you. This is something we need to be very aware. When you make a vow, you're not playing some sort of like a storytelling, it's a little poem that you're writing to your wife or to your husband. It means we're going to go through hell. Despite that, I will be there for you and with you. That shows your character, your loyalty to the person you marry to. And in the cycle, the negative cycle we're going through, whatever we accumulated from past life and is present in this lifetime, then we're going to break that chain that has been bringing us life after life and after life and after life, to the point we're not able to resolve because there is no person aware and able to cut the chains of our past coming to this our present. And then the situation where we are is just exposing that.
You are entering another cycle of same thing
Exactly.
because you didn't learn in previous life. Yeah.
And then that's the thing as woman. This is my person, myself. Doesn't matter where I'm going to go with my husband. And I told him, I will go to the hellish planets with you. If there is a lesson for you to learn, you will learn, but I will be there with you. If we're going to go to heaven together, we will go to heaven together. And I will be there with you. We need to be able to show our loyalty to our husband that we choose to. And we also have to be responsible for who we choose to who we say yes to. If you say yes out of your hormones, butterflies in your stomach, and your brain is just completely blocked, you must be responsible. You cannot go and say, I was over the moon. He says this word and it just triggers me and my world become like full of joy that he's the perfect man.
Ladies, there is no a perfect man except the man you create that is perfect for you. There is no a perfect woman except the woman that you create for yourself. And if you make it perfect according to what you want, that is expert. So we need to learn how to be expert at creating our husbands, how to meet their needs, how to smooth down their emotions, help them to come express their emotions, where you provide that safe space. And also husbands provide that safe space. Just listen. And I tell you, as a woman, even if your woman is very angry at you, just let her be angry. The woman that you marry is angry. Look at her. Look at her. She's angry, man. And you know what? I want you to do a self-introspection here. When you are going through anger, there is so much that's going on that you don't see exactly what's going on, that the other person is picking up. And it's, yeah, we have to be able to reflect, you know, and that's actually love. Love doesn't mean just butterflies and sweet words in your ears and just a bunch of flower. Love means that you are with your husband no matter what. And the lessons you're going to learn with him is the lessons you are learning with him. And it's marvelous as it is. It's beautiful. And that is the rasa. For me, it's a rasa anyways.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful rasa. Can be painful, but it's beautiful at the same time.
There's one thing I wanted to say for men. There's so much you can learn from Krishna, how he deals with women. You know, he never falls out, you know, becomes, you know, speaking loudly and, you know, or even worse.
With women.
With women. You can learn how to deal with women from Krishna. He's always cool guy. So, yeah. Isn't it?
And women, they need to talk to know what they think. You know, when they talk, they formulate the thought.
Otherwise, can be a lot of confusion in the mind for a
That's
woman.
why they need to talk.
Yes.
And
yes.
yeah, Krishna is listening and he's cool. You know, he's not adding to the fire. You know, we ordinary men from this world often get triggered because of this, and then the whole quarreling starts, and you know, but Krishna is not like that. So we can learn as men. We can learn from Krishna how to deal with situations a lot.
It's a great transition here. I spoke with Krishna Chaitanya about the infamous controversial purport from Srila Prabhupada. He said, you know, you just got to double down and then you got to triple down. So on the subject of learning to be expert from Krishna, you know, Srila Prabhupada says, although it may be illegal, it is a fact that a woman likes a man who's very expert at rape. It's not an advocacy of rape. It's not an incitement to rape, but it does make a very powerful statement about female sexual psychology. So I became interested in that. I was like, what does it mean to be very expert at this? What is it that a woman likes? I'm interested in my wife. She's a woman. Srila Prabhupada has made the statement about women. There's something for me in this. Like, if I'm interested in what a woman likes, if I'm interested in what my wife likes, I will become very interested in what is this very expert and what's the thing she likes about it. I talked with my friend ISKCON Krishna Das, and he pointed this out to me. He said that there is a banyan tree whose roots go upward and whose leaves go downward. And this is the material world. And such a banyan tree can be experienced beside a lake when you look at it and you see the reflection of the tree. And that lake is reflected on, the tree is reflected on desire. So he pointed this out to me, very powerful. The rasa that's involved in what Srila Prabhupada is describing here is the rasa of the parakya bhava of Krishna and the gopis. Like it's the most confidential pastimes of Krishna. And so in looking at this, okay, what does it mean to be very expert? Over time, I've broken this down into the narrative, the dramatic structure. So I wanted to present this to you and then get your thoughts on this. This is not an incitement to rape. It's not an advocacy of rape. This is a description of like, okay, what is it, and what is it, and an inquiry into what does it mean to be very expert. So there's a dramatic structure to rape, and if you can hit all the points in this in an interaction with a woman, she'll like you, and you do it in a way that's very expert. But the dramatic structure of it is isolation, sequestration, communication / respiration, violation, and ejaculation. That's the dramatic structure of rape. So there's like isolation. First, the person is by themselves somewhere. They're maybe walking by themselves, or you separate them. Sequestration, capturing them, stopping them from moving. Respiration, communication. Put your hand over their mouth, stop them from saying anything, maybe even stop them breathing so they can't struggle. Violation or penetration, and ejaculation. So that's the dramatic structure of rape. I'm not advocating this. It's not an incitement to do anything about that, except to be looking at it and to be interested about what does very expert mean, and what's the thing that women like, and is there something I can extract from that?
It's observation.
Yeah, it's an observation.
Yeah.
If you have a look at the rapture of Sita by Ravana and how it follows this dramatic structure, isolation takes place because what Ravana does is he has Marichi go and draw away Rama and Lakshman so that Sita is now by herself. So he accomplishes the first stage, isolation, expertly. We're going to leave aside for a moment the fact that Sita couldn't have been a better accomplice if she was being paid to do it, or if she was paying him. We're going to leave that for the washerman to say at the end. But he accomplishes the isolation, and then sequestration. He comes along and he captures her, grabs her. Now he's trapped her. And then he flies off into the air where she can't communicate with anyone. No one can hear her. So the third stage, communication. Then he takes her away to his
Lanka.
castle.
I think Lanka.
To Lanka, to his castle. Yeah, he takes her away to the secret castle where no one can see what happens. And then the next stages are, violation, penetration, ejaculation. And there's kind of an ambiguity about what happens in the castle, because we don't have, what happens in the castle. And that ambiguity around that is part of the power of the tragedy of it, that the washerman is like, look, we all know what happened because we know that a woman likes a man who's expert at it. And of course, she went to Vegas with the guy with the fast car and all the money. So who knows what she did there? And, then it's like Sita is exiled because of that. But then we find out that she has this superhuman devotion to her husband such that she remained pure. And that's the great tragedy of it, the separation of the two of them and their superhuman devotion for each other. But part of the ambivalence of that, or the ambiguity, comes from the fact that it's like everybody knows what probably happened, but if you have a look at that, there's the plot points of the arc in there, of the narrative. Now, as a man, if you can hit all of those beats with a woman in a way that she likes, in a way that's safe but exciting for her, dude, it is incredible for a woman. It's like going on a roller coaster. Yeah, you're expert, and it's powerful expert level seduction. And for the woman, areas of her brain activated that are just like she's wildly out of control with you. If you can understand what those are, the isolation, sequestration, communication, respiration. I mean, and these scenarios can be played out in like very miniature kind of things. You grab a woman and throw her on the bed. You are hopelessly overcome with passion. Ravana, the thing to get about the Ravana pastime is that Ravana's rapture of Sita, his capturing and kidnapping of her, that actually speaks to a very deep level of the female psyche. Women are not necessarily going to admit this, but that's hot. They actually think they're like, damn, if that happened to me, of course not, honey. No, I wouldn't want anyone to do that to me. Yeah, I'm a saint. But then they're just like, man, this guy's so into her, he can't control himself. You manifest that with your wife. I'm so into you, I can't control myself. Throw her on the bed, hold her down. Oh, there's like, and you're doing it in a very sensitive and expert way. So in the pastime of Ravana and Ram, the two personalities are separated. In the pastime of Krishna with the gopis, it's in one person. The pastime of Kadama Muni and Devahuti, it's in one person. So, you know, the respiration communication thing, putting your hand over a woman's mouth, and there's erotic asphyxiation if you look into that. There's all these kinds of different areas of being expert. The goal of life is not to be expert at this. And at the same time, Kadama Muni doesn't step away from his wife's desire, and it all happens in the context of begetting children. So there's like this is a whole very complex area, you know, with a lot of like subtlety and nuance to it. There's no advocacy of like forcing people to do things that they don't want to do. And now I want to just like to weld it all together. I want to point this out to people, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Here's what happened during the pandemic. And this is why I say that men's relationship to that purport by Srila Prabhupada and what happened in the pandemic are integrally linked. What the government did is they isolated you. Then they sequestered you. They trapped you and they stopped your physical movement. Then they put a mask on you to restrict your breathing, and they censored you on social media if you were tried to call out. My Facebook account after 7 years was like deleted. And then what they did is they penetrated you. They stuck this thing up your nose with this rat test, and then they injected you and they ejaculated some mRNA plus, you know, SV40 DNA material into your body. And if you were like, oh, this is fine, and didn't think like, I'm being raped right now, you don't understand the narrative structure of rape. But for men who are like, I know my wife likes a man who's expert at rape, and I'm going to be expert at that to fulfill her desires. And like, I'm looking at the world and I'm getting like raped right now. Yeah, so that's my little dissertation on the narrative structure of rape.
Yeah, and the worst thing
What are your thoughts on that?
in that analogy is that some ISKCON leaders were up for it and participating in promoting this rape and so on, which is really crazy.
Chase them down, tie them up, and inject them. It's like he's describing rape. It's like chase them down, you know, isolate them, sequester them, and then penetrate them and ejaculate. It's rape.
Yeah, I immediately went and told my mind under his video. Then some of his disciples, they didn't like to talk to me anymore and so on. Anyway, it's crazy world. Let's go back to a little bit more transcendental stuff. Can you put up this photo of Prabhupada's statement?
Can I just before?
Sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, about rape. You know, when you were talking the story, I don't know. We try to understand life. We try to analyze life. We try to, you know, like count life. But in the end, we all have our experiences, and this is our truth, you know. So when you were telling the story about Ravana, you know, my only thought was that he's Ravana, and you know, I don't know how I would like him to rape me, you know. Like I have only one man in my life, you know, never been with another man. So I cannot imagine somebody touching me, you know, somebody else. I don't know, maybe it's that, but I cannot imagine this. I mean, I would like him to do this to me, you know, no problem.
Yeah.
This I would like.
Yeah.
But not somebody who I don't like, you know.
Exactly.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
And this is the part of the contradictory nature of a woman's sexuality, and that what makes it so challenging for a man. Just before we do go to this photo, Prabhu, if you have a look at what happens with Kadama Muni and Devahuti, he manages to satisfy an impossible set of requirements with her. She wants to have 9 guys, but she wants a husband who's like such an alpha. He's like, no one touches my wife, only me. And she wants 9 guys. And she's chaste and she doesn't want anyone else to touch her. It's like, dude, that's impossible. But he manages to do it. So that's part of the psychology of the a chaste wife is she doesn't want anyone else touching her, and as you say, she wants her husband to provide that. Tat Purusha Prabhu, you wanted to say something there?
No, it's okay.
The other thing about this, Mata, you touched that one, where as women,
As you're speaking, I'm going to find the quote because you want me to bring up the actual quote.
I send it to your WhatsApp again, if you
Okay.
have it on computer.
there is a lot of difference in the psychology of women. Of course, as women, we understand each other, and also we as a woman have a different natures, and different gunas. And I can only speak for another woman that is in whatever guna. I can only speak maybe to some ladies that are on the same or guna as me. And this is like, I think this is in general. A female will be so thrilled, over the moon, when a man comes straight there and says, you know what, I really like you and I want to be with you. She will be all over the moon. If a woman doesn't like that guy and the guy says, you know what, you are beautiful and I would really love to be with you, she's going to freak out and call the guy many names. You disgusting. You just, come onto my face, so disrespectful. Gosh knows what kind of names the lady's going to call to this guy.
When you
Intrusive and so and so and so. But it's different when we like a man and that man comes like that. Is the dream for a female. Who doesn't want to be swept out of their feet? My gosh, myself, I feel all over the moon. My husband did actually that. Like, he came to me like this. This is the man.
This is not for everyone. But
No, obviously, no.
If you're expert, and I mean, I don't like to blow my own trumpet, but anyway, my wife is the judge. She's the only one who scores my card about whether I'm expert or not. No, and she experiences it. But it was like 2 years ago. Our first marriage was like a Kshatriya / Gandharva marriage, and it was risky. It was really risky. Like at the time, I was like shaking like anything. I had so much adrenaline blasting through me. And then as we were discussing it the other day, because I was looking at it from the beats along that narrative structure, and she was like, yeah, if I hadn't liked you and if it hadn't been like a go ahead, it would have been
disastrous for you.
Disastrous. But like I had to measure it and I wanted to hit all those points. I was like, yeah, well, this is going to be like an amazing experience. I was like, hey, let's go and see this lake. I'm leaving tomorrow and I'd like to see this lake. Do you want to come and see it with me? And she's like, yeah, okay, let's go and check it out. So we go there and I'm like, this is on, because like, going to a remote location with a woman, it's like, there's only, this is like, this is only one meaning to this. And then, we found there was a fig tree there and the breeze was blowing and everything. And then she says to me like, oh, I love figs. And there's like these figs up there, and then she says, I can't reach that one. And so she says to me, I'll lift you up to get it. So I'm like, this is definitely a test, It's like, is this going to be Vatsalya Ras? Like, is she lifting up her little son to get a fig? And I was like, no, I will lift you. So like I lift her up, to get the figs. And then
No, you didn't lift me at first.
oh, you stood up on the
on the thing, and I said, I may lose the balance because the fence is not that wide. I said, I may lose my balance. Can I please have your support? And he was supporting me, and I was just like picking all the figs, so excited, because that's me. I love trees with a lot of fruits. I'm passing at him, and he's just like grabbing them, like it's the rasa.
And then there was another one that was higher up. And so I was like, okay, I'll put you up on my shoulders. So then I put her up on my shoulders. And so she's sitting on my shoulders getting the figs. And then once she got them, then I just walked off with her on my shoulders. And she was like, put me down, put me down. You won't be able to hold me. And I was like, no. And it was a joke, was laughing and everything. But I managed to hit the second plot point, which is sequestration, trapping her physical mobility, which is like, if it's done right and everything is flowing in the right direction, it's exciting, she doesn't like danger, but she likes dangerous people, and it's the exciting experience of that kind of thing.
And obviously in that time frame, this is just us, our experience. I haven't seen him to be like a gross man. I seen him like a gentleman, like this guy is quite nice. My respect. One thing that hit the point here for me is like I bowed to this guy was when he said to me, when he grabbed me and he said to me, I cannot take you lightly. Then I understood this man respects a woman, and this man is a man for me because I want a man that respects a woman, therefore I can respect him back. Then I said, okay, and astrologically was predicted as well. It's like, okay.
She had, her astrologer had told her that she would meet someone who was her husband. And then, so what happened then was like at that point, because I grabbed her and pulled her into me. And then at that point, I was like, that's when I was shaking. I was freaking out. I was like, dude, if this goes wrong, like, this is very dangerous. Anyway, I was like, I just said to her, look, I've fallen in love with you and your daughter.
Yeah.
And she was like, what? Is this some kind of weird freak? And so I said to her, no, the thing is that I understand that just as I come with my son and we not be considered separately and we're a package deal, I understand that you also have your daughter and the two of you come together. And from and I have not had much association with you to know you, but from spending this time with you and examining your daughter and seeing what kind of person she is, I can understand what kind of person you are because you have produced her. And there was the fact that we were both at the mandate protests in Wellington. So that was like a very, very strong filter for like compatible values in life. And so anyway, I faltered at that point. And so I was like, I mean, if I'd been more expert, I would have been able to do this part on my own, right? So this is the limits of my expertise at this point. So then she's kind of like wants to help me to keep going. So then she says something, and this is from Kama Sutra. If you've studied Kama Sutra, I coach young men, devotee men, and they're like, oh, like I fell down and watched pornography. I'm like, why are you watching pornography? You haven't read the Kama Sutra. You think reading Kama Sutra is bogus, but you're going to watch pornography? Like, wake up, man. Read the whole thing. Anyway, in there, and talking about seducing a young girl, it says that, one of the ways that you do it is you have like some leaves or sticks and you show her like, oh, I had a dream last night and this is what happened. Anyway, I'm stopped at this point, freaking out. And she says to me, I had a dream last night that you kissed me. She says that, if that's not the come on, like, it's like you're on stage and you forgot your lines, so one of the actors is like, so then I'm like, okay, right, I got this. So I say, how about I make your dreams a reality? And then so she goes, you may kiss my cheek. And then it goes from there.
Actually, the dream was true. I wasn't making, I was testing you. In my dreams, you actually asked me that.
Okay.
And it was the thing that, like, I was so in tune to his energy, kind of in a psychic way, that I was understanding where he was coming from. And then that actually is like that dream repeating itself in the reality. And I was quite surprised. And I told him, I was quite open with him. I was like, oh, I had that dream last night. And yeah, so the whole thing as a woman, the moment I respect, and also as a woman, we have to be extremely careful here. He came and expressed his feelings like that to me, not knowing whether I'm going to reject him, because rejection for a male is horrible. Not only for a male, but for females. And he was shaking because of that. And I was just like, you shaking?
And I said, no, I'm not shaking. You're shaking.
And I said, I'm not shaking. I was chill as anything.
I was shaking like a leaf.
But you know what? The observation is here. You have to have this confidence, this courage for you to come to a lady and express your feelings like that. Ladies, you need to be able to respect that as well. Acknowledge that, honor them for what they are, not put them down. Goodness sake, never put a man down.
Doesn't matter if it's your liking or not liking, just say, I honor you for your courage. And then whatever it is, you have to say. But never diminish a man like that. And I admire his courage of fame when he said that to me. I will never take you lightly.
That's what sealed the deal. I said, we are now married because you are an Aryan lady and I cannot touch you in this way without marrying you. For to do so would be worse than death. And that was just like, that sealed the deal completely. Because she was just like, that was like so compatible with her value system that it was just like, this is it.
For
Yeah,
me
it's a
and
good
my
match.
culture, yeah,
It's a
for
good
me
match.
and my culture, it's this. A woman is a warrior next to her husband. To death, we will go together. And that's the culture that I grew up. As a wife, you have the commitment, the honor to be with your husband. That's an honor. And my match is, I don't want a guy just to come and just like, oh, you're beautiful. I like it. Let me see a little bit more about you. Let me taste a little bit about you. It's like, it's so disrespectful. How come I take you seriously? Yeah, there is the material excitement and all of this, fine. But the moment you say, for me, it's a man comes and it says this, I will be there with you because this is what I am. You say, I'm going to take you seriously. I'm going to take you seriously.
Mm.
Like her father, what did he say to your mother?
Yeah, when they, I think they were together for 1 month or even less. And he said to her, I'm going to marry you. And she, oh, really? And then he married her, after
my
like
goodness.
6 months. And he was really
Focused.
respectful and
Yeah,
focused there.
And women like men who are focused.
Mm.
Yeah, that's natural.
That's the thing with the females. Stability of the mind of females. Females do really well with very stable men.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And when we talk about being focused or fixed, that's exactly what we love. I love. I'm not going to speak for everybody else, but I love. Why I say this? A man that doesn't know his mind is flicking here and it's flicking there. The wind comes and it's flowing here and it's flowing there.
That's like describing a woman, isn't it?
Yes.
Even worse in a body of a man, it's just like, my gosh, I
Mental.
want a man.
Mental.
Exactly. Because as a females, we have these, we are in level of emotions and feelings. And to balance them, we just like, it's confusing for us as well. And when we have a husband that is just like, I'm going to do this one, I am responsible for this, it creates trust.
Mhm.
And you absolutely sure and secure that your child will be looked after by this man, that you will be provided in the most vulnerable time, pregnancy, birth, and everything, that your husband will be there no matter how much the suffering is, because the woman as well is going through suffering, right? Then he creates, and the woman reciprocates in a way that she creates a very stable home, beautiful, decorated, providing a nice meals because she feels protected, joyful, careful, looked after, with a man that she's gonna, what doesn't matter what's gonna happen, but she's gonna end up on her arms, cry in his arms. That's beautiful for a female. Sorry, baby.
No, that's okay. I just want to say one thing before we go to this picture that Prabhupada wants to show.
Sure thing.
If I went around doing that with all kinds of women, then I'd just be like a playboy, a Lothario. But like it's the being expert and the having the attention on the experience of my wife. Like, if I can create something like that for her, then why wouldn't I, If I know that a woman likes a man who's very expert at that narrative structure, why wouldn't I become expert at extracting that narrative structure and hitting those beat points for her? And what I hear and what you were sharing earlier, Mother Padmasundari and Tat Purusha Prabhu, is like, it's the same being that you bring to it, the being of service to the other, that's present, that I hear in, like, after you gave birth, Tat Purusha Prabhu was like preparing a feast for you, like the juice and then the soup and then the pakoras and the sabji and the halwa. It's just the same thing. It's like expertise. It's the expertise in the elements and expertise in the combination of the elements, and then that providing that for your partner as a service. It's just the same thing.
It's pleasing.
Yeah.
So pleasing.
I want to acknowledge something also. Srila Prabhupada wanted for his grihasta disciples to preach together. And it's just such a beautiful and powerful thing to experience being with the two of you and to see your partnership in fulfilling Srila Prabhupada's mission. And, you know, I think back to those 3 grihasta couples that he sent to England and how proud he was of them that they were doing that together. And I'm just really touched and moved by who both of you are in the community in Slovenia and in the world.
It's very inspiring. Very, very inspiring.
Thank you.
I was also thinking, everyone can see the two of you are so happy. And, Prabhupada said, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. And we devotees chant Hare Krishna, but this happiness, we should really work on it, by controlling the mind also, but also by communicating more and listening to each other. There's so much we should be talking about as a community, as grihastas, like couples, and then we could, through this communication, maybe be more happy. This is also the instruction, I think, to be happy. So we
Yes.
cannot follow just the half.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
let's go to this this quote that you wanted to bring up, Prabhu. Here we go. Here it comes. This is the
Okay,
one you
can-
wanted?
Your English is better. Can you read it out loud?
Sure. Sometimes when Radharani would go out, Krishna would attack her. And when she would fall down, Krishna, don't torture me in that way. They would fall down and Krishna would take the opportunity and kiss her. Radharani was very pleased, but superficially, Krishna was the greatest rascal. Unless rascaldom is in Krishna, how could rascaldom be existent in the world? Our formula of God is that he is the source of everything, but his rascaldom is so nice that everyone worships his rascaldom. Mayapur, February 27, 1972.
I see this as a form, like a pure form from transcendental realm. Translated into material world where it becomes contaminated with lower gunas and so on. It depends on the gunas this manifests, but it's actually in Krishna, this overpowering Radharani, and and she says, don't do it, but she likes it. It's the same principle, but it's pure. It's in a pure form, which translates into this world, becomes contaminated. That's why I wanted that we share this verse. I mean, this quote from Prabhupada, and maybe say something about it. And I mean, it's a wonderful quote from Prabhupada, and it's connected to what we are discussing here, or this hard to discuss topic about other statements from Prabhupada. But actually, I see this in connection. Like what goes on in pure transcendental realm. And also, when you are a child, you are more pure. And this reminds me of my childhood. Really, it's a like innocent form of the same thing, but it's innocent form. I remember having such leelas when I was a child with girls, there was some kiss, but it's so innocent, and it's different.
It is,
and when
absolutely.
when you grow up, then certain elements come, which can pollute this innocence and take it to some other realms, and sometimes even to heavy abuse and so on. But it's all distorted. It's all can become very distorted. And I think
Yes.
the devotees, which raised some, discussion about these statements and so on. I think there's a must in this community that we talk about this. We should
Yeah.
discuss this, how we understand this statement of Prabhupada, and what is the concern about it. If you said something, then someone wants to talk about it, but not in a debate way. Just condemning. Why don't you come to a podcast and let's debate, let's discuss it? I have a feeling that some devotees, they would gladly erase this from the books. Like
What a tragedy that would be.
they cannot understand why Prabhupada said this, or they cannot observe this, that this is actually observing the material world, and whatever happens in material world is contaminated with gunas, but actually it's in the spiritual world. It's the same thing happening, but in a pure form. And we can discuss about it, and when we discuss about it, then we can come together, isn't it? When you discuss among family members, you come together at the end, or in the community. When you discuss subject like this, or any subject, you come together. You have to come together, and eventually you have to bring this to Krishna. Whatever discussions we have, at the end we have to bring this up to Krishna. The conclusion has to come up to Krishna. That's why I wanted to bring this up to this Prabhupada statement, that we come up to Krishna. He's the pure form of everything what's going on. This rascaldom, it's because it's in Krishna. That's why also men here in this world act like rascals. It's we didn't invent this. It's part of being in this body, of male body, and so on. Yeah.
Yes. And then if you can express that within religious principles, not contrary to religious principles, then that's, you don't have to be an expert cook, but it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to be an expert at sex life, hitting the different narrative points and creating, amazing experiences for your partner. You don't have to, but it doesn't hurt. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But, these kind of things are difficult or challenging perhaps to discuss. Like when I see the purport, I just see very expert woman likes. And I'm like, okay, woman likes, very expert. Let me look into that then, Woman likes it when a man cooks a feast for her after she's given birth to his child, Use it.
Yeah, 10. She feels protected.
It's like,
Careful.
Yeah, cared for. Yeah.
Yeah. When women say they don't like sex, I think they didn't have nice sex.
Most probably.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. You have to have a very negative experience in order for that to block your future experiences. If you have a beautiful your future experiences,
future.
let's say sex, or let's say any other parts of life. Let's say a person have a traumatic experience. What is going to block the future of experiencing something beautiful is the block of the past coming to the present. And then again and again and again and again, to the point we don't feel free to who we really are outside of that trauma.
We've hit 3 hours and 8 minutes. So I'll give a disclaimer and then we'll get your closing thoughts. Here's the disclaimer. There's no advocacy of rape. There's no incitement to rape. There's no statement that women like to be raped. Srila Prabhupada's statement is that although it may be illegal, it is a fact that a woman likes a man who's very expert at rape. It's about understanding the deep female sexual psychology. If you're interested in that, what the insights that come from Srila Prabhupada's observation. And then if it's for you becoming very expert in hitting those beat points with your partner inside the context of a dharmic relationship and begetting children in order to enhance the experience of it, if you want to, and you don't have to. So I hope that makes that clear, and I don't get people saying, why are you advocating rape? Because that's not at all what this conversation has been about. Is that a good disclaimer?
Yes. It's the problem of misunderstanding a person. And obviously you said that in a period of time that doesn't allow you to express more and talk about it.
The No Ras podcast?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
it's just very fast tangential point. And it's very complex. And I've done obviously a lot of thinking and realization about this, whereas other people have got stopped on that.
Yeah. And so that is one of the things as well. Knowing you, I don't think you will do anything like that. In fact, you're very cautious protecting women and also children. And that's who I know you and who I know myself, being I'm against any sort of violence against women. And me being in favor of that, it will be like contradictory to my nature itself. The thing that I want to touch here is we need to be able to understand the psychology, because we are in a human form, experiencing human material desires in this world that's dual, happiness and suffering. Understanding a bit of, at least a little bit, or have an inquisitive mind to say, to look into like, what actually is the makeup of the psychology of woman? Why women are more into the emotions and feelings and men are more into the rational thinking and the dryness and the emotions and feelings? Why? What is the difference between them? Then it will take you to a different level of understanding your wife. You are with a woman. Woman, you are with a man. Just by the fact that you are male and female, or male and female, there's going to be a lot of controversy and a lot of disagreements and rough times. It is just the nature of it. On top of that, we have all the packages that we come from past life, our gunas and our karma to pay, and the karma that is the seeds that are starting to sprout and the fruits that there's so much we're dealing with. So we need to be able to step back and say, okay, this is what I'm dealing, and be interested. If you want to study psychology in women, please don't go rampant and studying every woman in the world. You catch a wife, get yourself a wife, study your wife, learn what she likes, what she doesn't like. Try to please her in the things that she says she likes. Do more what she likes, and you will be like the expert.
Yeah, it's true.
It's just a common sense.
So we'd like to give the last word to the two of you, Tat Purusha Prabhu and Mother Padmasundari, your closing thoughts on our conversation today.
Yeah, I'm thinking what to say actually. there's so many things we touched upon. I mean, yeah, it's good to know what you're dealing with. Krishna made this world. It works in a certain way. It's good to know how it works. There's nature in women. There's nature in men. It's like going on a ride. You have to know what kind of car you are driving. You cannot just go blindly. If you have a tractor, you cannot run, on the high speed, on the highway with it. It doesn't go like that. Or vice versa. You cannot run with a Porsche on a field somewhere. It doesn't go together. So, and Krishna made this world in his own way, and we have to respect it. The way it works. You have to use the world as Krishna designed it to be used, and of course, as devotees, we try to use it for Krishna's pleasure. That's bhakti yoga. So that's the
Connected with Krishna.
yeah. That's what I would say maybe for the end of this podcast.
Mm.
I said what I wanted to say. I'm a little bit
Perfect.
sleepy, you know.
Mm.
Yeah, it's
No.
late for you guys.
Yeah.
What time is it there?
Yeah, midnight.
Oh my
3
God.
hours.
Midnight.
Okay.
It's midnight.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Thank you again for your service to Srila Prabhupada's mission and to the community there in Slovenia and to the world, through this conversation and through the other, the flow-on effects of your community there. Anything that you do there affects everything.
I
And
would
thank
say
you
if
personally
somebody
for being part of this conversation with me.
if somebody
No.
listens to this
Yeah.
podcast and something he doesn't like it or she doesn't like it, don't go writing again another post in some group, Facebook. Call me, contact me, and we'll talk it out. I want to hear. If there's something I said wrong, I'm ready to discuss it. I'm ready to hear, to upgrade myself if needed. So please.
Are there any comments or something? What is the reaction of people?
Mhm.
Yeah, you want to see some comments? Let's have a look at the
Yeah.
comments.
Okay.
Okay.
Exciting. And I like that, Prabhu, when you say, you know what, if you have any issues, any misunderstandings, or anything you need to clarify, come to me. Let's start developing personalism. And that's where the relationship will start having a turning point of like amazing transformation. As otherwise, like a dog chasing the tail.
Okay, here we go. Questions and comments. Namras, as mentioned, said it's a nice topic. Bhakti Kid Sangha early on said a real Kshatriya wouldn't be advocating rape or being a savage. They would also be able to say it. Kshatriya. Yeah. I think we dealt with that. There's no advocacy of rape. If there's anything, it's an advocacy and an expertise in the elements applied in the way that a woman likes.
And this is the thing, just to clear up. Thank you, darling. There, just put it there.
Put it on?
Yeah, put it on. This is the thing. Someone misunderstood what the other person is saying and goes to the world and saying, my understanding is this, but your understanding of your misunderstanding, and somebody else gets your misunderstanding and their extra misunderstanding, and then just demonize a person. That's why we don't have a good relationship. You see the loop? It's like that what Srila Prabhupada said. Gossip about gossip. And that's one of the points. You say something, and that person hears something else and change it to something else, and something else is just like a massive loop of like absolutely misunderstandings. And we cannot go with this. We are Hare Krishnas, and we have to be a little bit more conscious about expressing our misunderstandings in a proper way. Man to man, you come to me, let's talk about it. Woman to woman, come to me. Not man to me, sorry. Man to man, go. Woman to woman, come to me. I have no problem with that,
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
Okay, let's keep rolling because it's midnight for these guys.
I'm sorry, yes.
We want to see these here. Achyuta Nandadas wants to know, is that a crossbow on their wall to the right of Vishnu? It is indeed a crossbow.
There's a sword also behind me. A real one.
Achyuta Nanda says a great conversation. And then he notices, I see a quiver too. Massive Kshatriya vibes going on here. Muchakunda sends his congratulations on our anniversary. Tom Adams, Tamal Krishna Das, he says it's a great conversation. Ramananda Gopal Dasa, we need to talk about it. Sends his thanks. You are welcome. There are more topics involved. Mark Corbin mentions two things: inquiry into the nature of sexual aggression and leftist cancel culture pivot.
Can you explain?
Yeah, what is cancel culture pivot? What is this?
Well, I can give a speculation, but I can't. I don't know the mind of Mark Corbin.
Okay.
Maybe what he's he's positing two things: inquiry into the nature of sexual aggression. That's me. It's like a woman likes a man who's very expert at rape. What does that mean? Like, what's the part that's very expert, and it's the same part that she likes. So if I'm looking into that, it's like, what does women like about that? And that's what very expert is. It's an inquiry into that. And then he says, and then there's the leftist cancel culture pivot, which is, no, you can't talk about this. And it's like, let's cancel this guy. I think that's what he's saying.
Yeah. Okay.
I can translate that.
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada always emphasize and
To talk about
of these topics in the Srimad Bhagavatam classes.
with the Shastra, with the scriptures.
Yeah.
Ishwari Keshavi is loving the recounting of the Kshatriya / Gandharva marriage under the fig tree. Achutananda gives his compliments. Impressively mature conversation, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
And he says, thank you kindly. Ishwari Keshavi, Freema Menhir, says, children are Krishna's gift to the grihasta and to the world.
Vaikuntha children.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's have a look. Here we go. Jai Prada Radhika Devi says, Dana, so true about not accepting just any man, can go the opposite way. Really related to all you said. And Josh Wolf, that's me, Siddhapati Das, also agree with all you said. Great chat between all. Pushing this under the rug has only resulted in many divorces.
Yeah.
Sadly. I feel so sad about these children, women, unprotected.
Yeah. And it's great because this takes us full circle to, where our conversation started, which was that, you participated in this grihasta team in Slovenia, which was motivated by the high rate of divorce. And by looking into this and sponsoring, fostering an open dialogue, fostering an open dialogue around it, you've actually reduced the divorce rate. And here we go. We've got a comment just come in from Damodar Dasa from Australia. Thanks for tuning in. He says, anyone introducing the topic of rape on a public platform has the responsibility to do so with great care and also to get Prabhupada's reference word perfect.
Thank you. Thank you
So
for
I hope that we've done justice to the topic today. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your contribution. And I took great care this time to make sure that I reproduced Srila Prabhupada's purport as it is. And those are the comments.
Nice.
Last word to Damodar Das. Thank you again. Thanks to all of our viewers watching live or tuning in to this in the archives on YouTube. I'm going to roll the credits. Just hold on for a moment, Prabhu and Mataji, and we'll roll the credits and then we'll be right back. Just one second.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, oh Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama,